Welcome, race fans, to the iRacing Esports Network presented by PTR TV. It's our debut broadcast. Tonight we are bringing you some road racing. It's the classic 24 hours of Daytona. We are bringing you the Riley Daytona prototype versus the Porsche 911 Cup. They are racing for 2 hours here at Daytona on the road course. So as the racing season begins, as the winter is fading in and Daytona is actually heating up in Speed Week starting soon for NASCAR. The 24 hours of Daytona coming up soon. So racing season 2019 is underway, and we're going to be starting it off here tonight on the iRacing Esports Network. I got a lot of help in the booth today. Myself, Corey Silverman, and the cameras into the booth. I have my regular partner, Evan Black, with me, and some recruited help from a partner channel of ours, Sib TV, Kyle and Finian. So, well, welcome everybody to Daytona International.
Yeah, thanks, Corey. It's good to be here on the iRacing Esports Network and here at Daytona. Like you said, with the Riley Daytona prototype and the Porsche, this is going to make for a good race. And the Riley, with it having so much downforce, it's going to be a lot faster in the corners. But on the straightaways, they are pretty equal horsepower-wise. So coming out in the straightaways, and if these cars get grouped together, it's going to be very interesting to see how they do pass each other.
Yes, it is, and as you said, we have about 25 drivers. I think it's about split 12 or 13 in each class, so we will be, again, for our first time in our channel, be covering a race of this nature. So again, we have our partners Kyle and Finian, who they cover a little bit more of this stuff than this, so we're going to be learning together and watching the action, watching the Porsche, watching the Riley and the closing rates and the fuel strategies and everything that goes in a 2-hour race. So again, welcome Kyle and Finian, and what are you guys expecting in tonight's race?
Well, Corey, tonight is going to be a very interesting race. The two cars tonight are the Riley Daytona prototype and the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. And one of the cool things about these cars is that they're almost matched on horsepower. The Riley Daytona prototype has about 500 horsepower from a V8 Pontiac engine, and the 911 GT3 has a 485 horsepower Porsche Flat 6. The Riley has a 5-speed sequential transmission. The Porsche has a 6-speed. So on the straightaways, they're only separated by about 10 miles an hour. The Riley has the advantage. But when it comes down to the corners, it's going to be a lot bigger of a difference, as the Riley is 600 pounds lighter than the Porsche.
Yeah, and that's really where we're seeing this big almost 7-8 second difference in lap times between the two classes, and that's pretty much only coming out of the corners.
And that's going to be obviously a difficult situation, as they got to come out of the corners, and all of a sudden the straightaway difference is going to be a big situation, especially headed into the dreaded bus stop here at Daytona. We know a lot of problems can happen with braking zones and the closing rates. We'll have to watch out for that, guys. But as we can tell with the skies, well, it's about 4:30 or so sim time, so about 2 hours of racing. So we are going to be ending under the lights. The track conditions will be changing with the track cooling down, providing some more grip. The headlights will be coming on, so the new dynamic in the iRacing that will be affecting these drivers on the racetrack tonight.
Yeah, right around 5:15, 5:30 sim time, it's going to be getting pretty dark, and that's just before the lights come on and the headlights. So that's going to be where it's going to be kind of challenging for these drivers to see. That sun is starting to set and the lights have not quite come on yet. So that's where these guys are going to be struggling for that visibility, and that's going to make it really interesting to watch with all the multi-class action going on and different closing rates.
I think one of the other things to keep an eye out for is the Riley Daytona prototypes are really low to the ground, and they're really hard to see in the mirrors of those Porsche 911 Cup cars. So before those headlights come on, the multi-class interaction might get a little bit interesting.
Yes, it will, and of course over a 2-hour race, presumably we'll have at least 2 pit stops, I'd have to imagine, and we'll have to watch on the strategy whether these guys are going to choose to go earlier in the fuel window, whether they push it right to the end, or whether tire changes do happen. Of course, so we'll be watching that, and I expect a lot of these drivers to be on top of their game, of course, in the iRacing world and with the real world. Daytona 24 hours coming up, of course, this weekend. If you're watching it live, the 24 hours of Daytona occurs on the iRacing service, so a lot of laps have been turned, presumably by most of these drivers in testing, and to a degree, these cars may, while not be an exact replica, not an exact circumstance for them to practice with their team, rather comparable, I would assuming, for the cars that are on offer in the 24-hour race.
And a lot of it is also just going to be getting experience around the track and managing your stuff over a 2-hour period and with the changing track conditions, because this is going to be the first time a 24-hour race has occurred on iRacing with the new day to night transition and dynamic track, where the track will change based on the time of day. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these drivers do manage to deal with that.
Of course, with the clouds, with the shadows, definitely with the grandstands, you will see the shadow over the front straightaway. That'll give more grip even into turn one. But while we are on the topic of weather, let's bring it up and let you guys know what is going on. It's about 73 degrees in the air here at Daytona with a 76-degree track temp. We'll keep track of that during the race because it will be headed down, about a 7 or so mile-an-hour wind coming from the south. So don't expect to have that affect these drivers too much here tonight. But we're headed down to the end of the qualifying session, and you can see on the ticker where these guys are. We have the best lap in the prototype class being a 139.2 by Jim Shedlick, and then first in the Porsche class being Ty Kim with a 146, as you said, guys, right on money with about a 7-second differential.
But the fastest Porsche, like you said, that 146.61, but the slowest DP was a 144, so that's only 2 seconds faster than the fastest Porsche. So that's going to be interesting to see how all of that plays out.
And the Rileys and the Porsche, as we mentioned it earlier, they make speed in very different areas. The Porsche obviously has a little bit more grunt than it does the downforce. The Riley obviously stronger in the corners, and that's going to play out. Not a huge downforce track here at Daytona, so it might not be as big of a deal here as it is somewhere else, but obviously something to take note of.
Yes, it is, but that is what we are looking for. So the qualifying session has ended. These guys will take to the grid here at the Daytona International Speedway for our iRacing Classic 2-hour event, the prototypes versus the Porsche. So these guys are lined up onto the grid. So again, on the pole, our ticker is not presumably set up for this, so we'll let it flash by as you can see where maybe your favorite driver, where your teammate is starting. Jim Shedlick on the pole for the Rileys and Ty Kim on the pole for the Porsches. As the ticker scrolls by on the bottom with all the lap times, guys, we've talked about a lot of things to look forward to in tonight's action, a lot of things to be concerned over. So just based on what we have seen in these first couple laps, what's it going to be like trying to get through these first couple laps and trying to get these guys spread out and kind of figuring out who's got what?
Well, I really don't think there's going to be a whole lot of getting spread out, especially for those Rileys, because the draft does play a major factor here. So I think especially, well, actually, looking at lap times, Jim Shedlick, he might be able to pull away. He got the pole by almost over a second, but everyone behind him was fairly close, so I don't know how spread out we're actually going to get here. And if they do stay in a pack and can draft a little bit, that could help them save some fuel.
Yeah, the fuel saving going to be important, as Evan said, about 30 laps or so in the Porsche, and I think we said right about on those lines for the prototypes as well. So something to watch out for is that we are lined up on the back straightaway for what will be a rolling start. We only have to go half the lap around Daytona as the roof pace car just now getting into gear. These guys will navigate through the bus stop here at Daytona, and the iRacing Esports Network and PTR TV will again give you coverage of tonight's event. Want to thank everyone for tuning in and to our premiere broadcast on the channel. You can check out all of our content on our YouTube channel, Primetime Racing TV, and check out our website as such, as we do hope to air more content on the channel and look forward to doing so. And all will be good. But here we go into the banking in corners number 3 and 4, guys. We're getting ready to get this underway.
Yeah, really quickly, I want to just kind of point out there's the number 14 prototype starting all the way behind the Porsche field. So you were talking about mixed class interactions is going to happen right at the start of the race, and he's going to have to navigate about 11 or 12 Porsches.
Yeah, and entering those corners is where he's really going to have issues with that, is because he can drive it in way deeper into those corners than the Porsche can, because the Porsche doesn't have a whole lot of downforce and no ABS on it, so it has to brake really early compared to those Rileys.
Yes, it is. We'll be watching for that as the iRacing roof pace car comes off of the corner number 4 here in the Daytona Oval. Pace car is in. We wait for the race to get underway. Leader is on the accelerator, and we are racing at Daytona.
Shedlick in a pretty good jump there as they get ready to enter turn number 1 here at Daytona. Shedwick got a pretty good gap back to second as there's a battle going on for second. And 66 getting a bit loose there in turn 1. Now coming through turn 2. Looks like everyone is getting pretty spread out so far.
And the Porsche class just entering turn number 1 as we do have a gap, and we already have a Porsche spun around there in corner number 1. That's
Jeffrey Garzotto.
Jeffrey Garzotto. We'll check quickly back and see what happened to him. He seemed to be the only one to have problems off the initial start here into corner number 1. He was on the outside of one driver in the black machine right there, and looks like he got loose in the braking zone, turned into the right rear, and that sent him around. Luckily, a minor incident, only him to be at a disadvantage, but as we can see in the prototype class, that's Shedlick out by about 3/4 of a second over Weaver and Reinhardt. Matthew Sanderson in 4th, and as they come onto the banking, we'll see how the slipstream comes into play.
Coming up into that oval, turns number 1 and 2, and we'll see if Justin Weaver can close in on Shedlick here going down the straightaway. Looks like there's not really a whole lot of ground being made up by that 66. So they get ready to enter the bus stop here. And pretty even by both of them, and I really thought the draft would come into play a little bit more. We'll see if it does here, as he is just under a half second back, and that is kind of right around the margin that you need to be to get that good draft.
Yeah, that's what we're waiting for, is to see if he is able to close. It does look like Weaver is going to close on Shedlick. He's going to get that slipstream to the line. He's going from about 0.3 of a second down to 1/4 of a second, and we'll see if he is conservative or if he tries to approach it even more harder to get to the back bumper of Shedlick. He will. Looks like he's a little bit loose on the brakes. A little bit of a lockup actually from Shedlick. We saw some puffs of smoke. These guys got to be careful on the brakes. Still early in the race, but all is well, and they got about a half second actually now for Shedlick.
And we're almost side by side here for the lead in the Porsche class. Arjuna leading it here, entering turn 1, and just behind him we have Christopher Potter, who was taking a look to Arjuna's outside, entering turn 1, but backed off a little bit there, and now right about a 1/4 second back.
And remember, guys, this Porsche car is going to be a very vital car in the iRacing service coming up in the 2019 season, being announced as the World Championship car that will be raced for the $100,000 in the road class. So a lot of experience, guys, and definitely these guys want to get as much practice and as much speed in this Porsche. So what better way to learn than right here? As you can see, Arjuna a little bit loose in the braking zone right there. Maybe you have to adjust that brake bias. He does have that 9 machine of Chris Potter behind him, and you can see a prototype right behind this. That's Joshua Gear.
We had a Porsche upside down in turn 1 just a moment ago, the number 16 Porsche.
That's Luke Pfeiffer, and he has already taken it behind the wall, so first retiree of the event.
Looks like he had major issues down entering turn 3 there. Just locked up the rears on braking and got hit. I'm trying to see who hit him there.
Edwards in the 19.
Yeah, Taj Edwards having some contact there. Hopefully that didn't hurt him too much.
Now we'll try to go back quickly and see if we can find that event on camera right now, as we have a moment to do so, and may actually be right here. Oh, yep, right here. We can see the 16 get really loose and just right off the bumper of the 19, sent him wildly flipping there in the first turn in the infield here at Daytona. The 19 with some significant aero damage. We'll see how that does affect him.
Couple more small issues. Mike Taylor in the 56 DP looped it in turn 1, and Ty Kim, the 3rd place Porsche, went off track in the bus stop, collected it, and maintains the 3rd position.
Again, guys, we're only 5 minutes into this event, so obviously maybe it's the pre-race jitter starting to get to some of these drivers, but this is where you have to get into your rhythm. But you guys are a little bit more spread out, about a half a second in between most drivers at least. We do have a battle in the DP class. Robert Krutz losing a spot to Benjamin Morton as he is side by side in the oval right now. That is Morton to the inside in the 777. And they will go door to door off of oval turn number 2. Would have to assume that Morton will, Crouch will back off into the bus stop. Not a corner you want to go side by side through. And
actually, Morton backing off there, entering the bus stop, and he lost quite a bit of time there by doing so. But Crouch overshot the bus stop, and now Morton is right back right back behind him. Going to see if he can make a move here in oval 3 and 4, and maybe try and get next to him entering turn 1.
Yeah, that was very surprising to me. He had the position. Morton did. He was to the inside. He got the run heading out of the infield onto the oval, but maybe just didn't want to cook it in there, wasn't maybe confident on the brakes. So you can see right to the back bumper at the start finish, looks to the outside into the braking zone, turn 1. We know how dangerous it is if you're on the brakes at the wrong point. Goes really wide, trying to get that cut to the inside through the S's. They're going to be door-to-door through the S's. He does back off, does Morton, but he's ready for the spot.
Morton definitely faster than Crouch here early on, but as Crouch is going wide in a lot of corners here, just overdriving that car as they're going to be side-by-side here out of turn 3. And now Morton is going to have the outside for this corner, but the corner after he's going to be on the inside, but he's going to back off just before that.
Battle in front of this. To the outside. Oh, battle in front. Sorry to cut you off, Evan, right as well. That's Sanderson and Wyans, Riley Wyans, 707 and the 22. They were battling at the same moment as the battle behind him. So 2 battles to keep an eye on as we head back into the oval here. Both these drivers are close enough for the slipstream. Actually, Sanderson did not get off that corner very well. Lost some time, but still have to watch Crouch and Morton up front, not missing too much. Shedlick still up to about a 3/4 of a second lead.
Weaver is close enough to get a little bit of a draft off of Shedlick, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough to make a move, as Shedlick is still continuing to try and pull away here.
One of the things about these Riley DP machinery tonight, guys, is that these are typically known as downforce cars, but at a racetrack like Daytona, most of the track is oval, so these cars are in very low downforce trim, and that will mean that the draft will not be quite as effective as they're not leaving a big aero wake behind them.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's probably why we're seeing that. That's exactly why we're seeing what we are seeing. The fact that these guys not really packed up together, usually just kind of in 2-car groups. Meanwhile, the Porsches are in some pretty big groups fighting for position. And
we did see the 112 of Crouch in the DP. He got really sideways there in the bus stop. I thought he was going to get a penalty from the service. Did not do so, but we do have a battle right in front of them. That's the 707 and the 22 still battling. But as you guys referenced, we do have a lot of tight racing in the Porsche class, side by side on the back straightaway right now. That's Spencer Battersby trying to hold off Andrew Fawcett through the grass in the bus stop. That's not gonna clear with race control. He's gonna have to slow down, and presumably because major course cut there, but at least he may have to slow down. But
yeah, there you can see Fawcett starting to slow down, running that high lane through oval 3 and 4, and he's losing a lot of time to the back bumper of that 7 of Battersby.
Yeah, he did have to slow down, but luckily for him, he does have a race car that is in one piece. That is the more ultimate goal to be concerned about. So he'll be able to regroup and try to get those spots back. And this is for the Porsche class lead at the moment here, as we're 5 laps into the race. Arjuna Kankapati, and he already predicted we were going to say that name wrong. We're going to do our best. In the 911, he is just hanging on by about 3/4 of a second, or half a second rather, over Chris Potter. Potter and him have been pretty much tightly quartered since this race has begun. You can see the different lines going on from the 9, trying to maybe get that different apex, try to get that run, or maybe even just to have visibility entering the braking zone.
Battle for the lead starting to heat up for the DP class.
That's Shedlick and Weaver. Again, within 3/4 of a second, within the slipstream range. But as you guys have talked about, the slipstream has not been as prominent in the prototypes just because of the downforce settings. So he will back off just a little bit and enter in 1 and 2. Well, oval, I mean, again, we're oval guys, so I say 1 and 2. Enter in the first corner here, but look at the wiggle from Shedlick. Entering the S's here, but didn't lose too much time in the process, although he kicked up some dust.
Side by side for 4th behind him, started to cut.
That corner there locked up the tires a little bit, so I don't really think he is trying to save fuel here.
Porsche lead change on the front straight.
Can't do it flat out side by side, so Potter will hold off again, and he will fall back behind Arjuna, and here we come into the international hairpin. And again, Potter did not get off that corner as well, and this is the most critical corner on the racetrack, is getting lined up for the long run into 1 and 2 on the oval, and Potter will lose that valuable time.
Yeah, just under a half second back is Potter now. Gonna try and use that draft as it is a little bit better in these Porsches than the Rileys. And you can see how much time he is gaining due to that draft. He's going to get right to his back bumper entering the bus stop. Probably going to back off. Didn't really want to try and make a move there quite yet. It's a bit too risky for only lap 6. We'll see if he can get a good enough run out of the bus stop and maybe try and do something in oval 3 and 4 just before entering turn 1.
Into oval 3 and 4. Looks like Potter, he's just... I can't tell if he's actually faster. He does seem to lose time, and then he seems to gain time, but again, he is aided by the slipstream, as he most certainly is. Look at the run as we head into the tri-oval here, as we complete yet another lap. He's going to look to the outside of Arjuna, and at this point, guys, if you are Arjuna, do you back off and maybe see what Potter has, if he can pull away and just use patience in this 2-hour race, or are you fighting to hold this class lead?
I would be fighting to hold the class lead, but I don't really know what the best strategy is going to be right here, because if Potter does get by you and does start to pull away, you don't know if you're ever going to be able to catch him back up. So I would just kind of try to hold on to any track position that I can keep.
And keep in mind, the DPs are beginning to close in on the tail of the Porsche field, and once those DPs come through, that might separate the leaders, so you're going to at least have to stay close if you can't get around them.
Yeah, but the battle for the prototype lead is still, I mean, again, we see the battle for the lead in each class is separated by about half of a second. It's just both leaders of the classes are, they have battles that will not seem to go away. The second place won't pass them, but they're also staying right within range where you have to look in that rear view mirror. You can't necessarily get into your own rhythm because you always have to see what's going on, if they're diving it, if they're gaining time on you at a certain part of the racetrack. So you can see Shedlick has led every lap thus far. He still has that half-second lead. Weaver, whether it's just a speed situation or maybe that's just he's comfortable running there and just cruising in second, he is doing as such. Drew Reinhardt running in third, about 2.5, 3 seconds behind these drivers. Then we have Matthew Sanderson and Riley Wines. They are rounding out the top 5 right now in the DP class. And again, we've been focusing on it all race, but this is the best battle on the track, and it will not go away. As we've been saying, here comes Potter to the outside off of Oval 4, heading to the start-finish. He may have him at the stripe.
Potter is going to lead this, because we'll see if he's going to hang on the outside, and yeah, he's going to stay side by side through turn 1. Let's see if he can use that outside lane to his advantage. Not going to be able to there, losing a lot of time running the outer lane there. And once again, right back to just under a half second for those first and second cars in the Porsche class.
James Harris, the number 3 DP, looped it harmlessly down in turn 1. No contact, just got in there a little bit hot and looped it.
Yes, he did. And guys, I made a mistake, and I referenced a turn that does not exist, and I cannot believe nobody called it out. I made up a turn called the International Hairpin.
I was going to correct you, but I didn't.
The International Horseshoe is the first right-hand turn as we head into the oval here. So as we're heading right here into this left-hander, as we call turn number 1. I did pull up a track map for my own reference. We head through the S's.
I did too.
And then we head into the International Horseshoe. So Corey's road racing fail number 1 of the event. We can keep tracker. That's perfectly fine. But the lead for the class, again, remaining right at that half second. And then we have the first Porsche of lap traffic right in front of these leaders in that green and yellow machine.
Alex McPherson in that 131 Porsche. He's going to have the leaders right behind him, and he's going to go wide through that corner just to let them all go by. And now they got a little bit of a gap to the next Porsche, as he is just coming up onto oval turn 1 now. So they got a little ways to go before they catch him.
So 15 minutes into this race, lap number 9 is completed. Based on the current telemetry, looks like we're going to be doing about 72 laps in the books tonight, at least for the prototype guys. We're about probably late 60s for laps in terms of the Porsche. So guys, given what we have estimated, if we're going about 72 laps in these prototypes, we're about 10 laps in. Are we doing 2 stops, or are we hypermiling it and try to do 1?
I think it's going to be 2 stops, but only 1 stop is going to be for a full tank of fuel. The second stop, you don't need a full tank, so it's going to be interesting to see who does calculate that fuel right and who can maybe save a little bit so they don't have to take as long of a pit stop.
Yeah, because you could definitely on each stop not take a full tank, because you can try to shorten one, maybe extend the second one, or you pit at the early end of the window, you pit at the late end of the window. A lot of ways that you can play it. You also have to take into account what your competition is doing to assess these situations, because I would say the window is open depending on, again, how you want to play it right now. Not sure if these drivers, I'm sure they did have a strategy going into it, and obviously you want to yield to that and hope that it does work out in your favor, as the prototype class is coming up on yet another Porsche as we head through the kink into the latter part of the infield.
And Mike Taylor in the number 56 DP has pulled the car off the racetrack, had yet another spin down in turn number 1. Just a rough night for Taylor all around, and that'll be the end of his night.
So that will leave 21 drivers still on the track. We have lost 1 in each class, so we have, looks like we have 10 prototypes and 11 Porsches still remaining in the field here at Daytona. As heading into the banking again is Shedlick and Weaver for the prototype lead, and the Porsche lead that we have also referenced. Well, that battle has slowly fizzled out as Potter, he was holding about half a second to 3/10 off the back bumper of the 911, but it looks like he has dropped right at the edge of the slipstream range, where I don't know if he's going to get as much of a benefit. He's going to want to really have a good infield and try to preserve that opportunity.
Looks like he has already gained quite a bit of it back. He's down to just about 0.6 of a second off the back bumper of that 911 of Arjuna as they go down into turn number 3 here, the International Horseshoe. Going to see if he can gain a bit more time there, and it looks like he will. So if he can keep this up, he might be able to get enough of a draft on the oval to get back up to him.
Yeah, that's what we're going to have to see what happens, and if indeed Potter is able to close in, or again, we don't know the pace. There's still so much time in this race. We're not even a quarter of the distance in this race, so we are starting to see the dynamic things change, though. We are putting more rubber into the track, which will provide more grip. We are, as time goes by, the track is cooling down. I think it was 77 degrees at the start of the session. We are already down to 75, so that will only add to the grip, only speed up the lap times, and of course that will slowly change the dynamics of the race car, how it feels, and of course as the fuel burns, a lot of times, guys, that'll affect the car. You want to play with that brake bias, so a lot of things to manage while in the cockpit.
The DP leaders just worked their way through some of the rear end of the Porsche field, and in second place, Justin Weaver had a little bit of a scary moment there, heading towards the International Horseshoe, went a little bit wide to try to get around one of the Porsches, and ran up onto the curb, and that's a very scary place to go wide at 150 plus miles an hour.
Yeah, we were talking about these guys potentially getting separated here, and Shedlick was almost able to get away, but Weaver is gotten through the traffic pretty well as Shedlick, so they're both going to be still together. But again, we were talking about that danger of losing that draft from the leader.
And Weaver almost did, like you guys said, but he is close enough now. He is going to catch back up at least a little bit. I don't know if he's going to be able to get as close as what he had been, but they are going to have a couple more Porsches up in front of them. They're going to be coming up on here pretty soon.
Yeah, I was just about to say that the Porsches sound amazing right now. That flat six engine just absolutely screams, just like the GTE Porsche 911. These flat six engines make one heck of a noise, but the other thing is the way that these engines make torque. I believe that the Porsche 911 flat six makes peak torque at around 7,500 RPM. That's really high. And what that means is that the Pontiac Rileys are going to have a lot easier time getting past these cars on corner exit with the low-end torque that their V8 offers.
Yeah, the Porsches just cannot quite get off the corners as well due to, like you said, on that torque and a little bit less downforce. They can't quite get the throttle down, but it looks like Shedlick is going to get by a couple of those Porsches there. And coming up on a group of 3 here, looks like Ty Kim, Taj Edwards, and Derwin Kostanak here pretty soon.
And this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky to see for the Porsches, as the lights have not come on the Rileys yet, and when you look in the mirror, you're not going to see a whole lot. Those Rileys have a pretty low profile, so the Porsches are going to have to be real heads up, pay attention to those blue flags, or you might have an incident here. Again, the overtaking car has the responsibility of passing safely, but for the Porsches in front, they also have to be paying attention.
And this is not the best place to be catching those Porsches here through the bus stop. Able to get by one pretty cleanly there, and now looking to the outside of another Porsche is Shedlick, and this has kind of allowed him to get away from Justin Weaver a little bit, almost up to a full second between those two right now.
And past for the Porsche lead, Christopher Potter, the number 9, has retaken the lead. And they're the only 2 Porsches to not have the Riley field come through just yet. They still have a little ways to go.
Yeah, and it looks like the Porsches, at least the top 2 Porsches, are running about 6 seconds slower than those Rileys. So it's not a huge difference compared to a lot of the multi-class stuff we see here on iRacing, but it still is a pretty good gap, so it's going to be interesting to see when they do end up catching them and putting them a lap down.
Well, Finian mentioned a couple laps ago that the Porsches would probably separate the DP leaders, and that did happen. Justin Weaver was over a second and a half behind Jim Shedlick in that number 10 Riley, but Weaver has since tracked him back down, so I think that 66 car is a little bit quicker and just biding his time behind the leader.
Yeah, also that too, Shedlick went wide in turn 1, he locked up yet again. I think that's almost the third time that I've seen him do it, so I think he's starting to kind of lose out on his tires and maybe just using them up a little bit more aggressively than Weaver.
Yeah, Weaver could have maybe just been saving his tires to start, and now starting to reel back in on Shedlick after 13 laps. That's definitely going to start to hurt those tires quite a bit, so we'll see here who has saved their tires better, and it looks like it might have been Weaver.
Yeah, Weaver, he's definitely right back to the back bumper as we head into the bus stop yet again, and just clipping the dirt on entry was Shedlick, and I think there was no incident cap in this race, so these guys do have reign of that. They want to, of course, stay on the track as much as possible, but something they don't have to be concerned about for this event. But coming back into the oval, 3 and 4. See if Weaver is able to close back in and make a move in 1. He definitely is faster as the sun starts to go down. It does get a little bit darker here at Daytona into corner number 1. Looks like he will stay put.
Small correction to that, I'm actually looking, I believe they have a 50 incident limit.
That is correct.
Oh, I stand corrected.
So you do have to be a little bit more careful on that. You don't want to get 50 incidents in only a 2-hour race, which should be fairly easy to not do, but still you want to be pretty safe with it.
James Harrison, the number 3 Riley, looped it on the exit of the International Horseshoe. Just a little bit too much power. No traction controls in these DPs of this generation, so just a harmless spin again for the number 3.
Well, so that puts him 9th in the prototype class right now. He's about 55 seconds behind his nearest competition, which is Daniel Schoolmeister in the 08, who is in heavy traffic now as he has gotten passed by a couple drivers and has some Porsches to navigate. So at the end of the DP class, there's going to be a lot going on as you see some cones hit to the Porsche there. Prototypes trying to get by that Porsche machine, that blue and yellow one. A lot of action going on as they will get through. And that is, who is that in the Porsche, in the prototype class? That's Krutz in the 112 and the 08 of Schoolmeister. They are coming off of the bank, into the banking rather, in 1 and 2. And we'll see if the 08 has anything for the 112.
Yeah, Crouch actually got in the grass a little bit there, trying to get around those 2 Porsches and kicked up a cone there. Nothing to hurt the car, but he did lose a little bit of time there, like he did with Schoolmeister. Coming up on him, entering the bus stop, not going to make a move. That's not a very good place to make a move, so smartly backing off as Crouch getting a bit loose into that corner and locking up a little bit. That's going to allow that 08 to maybe make a move here.
Porsche leader side by side at the front of the field down in turn 1, and Jim Shedlick, the prototype leader, is also right behind them trying to make his way through. Well, they go 3 wide heading through the S's.
Yeah, you can see that that Shedlick's getting boxed in by the Porsches. He has nowhere to go, and that's allowed Weaver to catch up, maybe make a pass.
There's Potter letting him go by, so now they just have to get by Arjuna. Potter being very courteous there. Probably lost the lead because he was trying to let them go by, but I'm sure those prototypes are going to appreciate it.
2 by 2 through the infield. That prototype got loose out of the cake. Are we racing cup cars on the oval, or are we in the infield right now, guys?
I talked about how slippery those curbs can be, and you saw the 66 prototype just get out wide, and that paint is very slippery. It doesn't have the grip coefficient that the asphalt does, and you saw a very scary moment there for Justin Weaver.
Yeah, that was rather intense racing, 2 by 2 through the kink. We saw that one prototype there get really sideways as he exited the kink and prepared himself for the right-hander, but all is well, and everyone did make it through just safely. And of course, the battle for the Porsche lead is still on, and we've seen Potter fall back. We've seen him catch up. He is in a catch-up phase within a quarter of a second heading into the bus stop, and these guys, I'm just waiting to see. I think these guys are going to pit together, be on the same strategy, because they are just, they're pretty much locked on speed. So guys, when you have this kind of a battle with someone, do you want to go off strategy, or do you just want to stay right with them and try to have a speed battle with them?
I'd say Finian's my strategy guy, so he's probably got a better idea, but typically if you're the following car, you kind of want to match exactly what the leader's doing, because if you let him get ahead of you on strategy, it might be hard to make it up. I'd rather, if I'm the second place Porsche right now, I want to come in with the leader and keep him in sight.
Yeah, I would say at this point in the race, it's best to probably stick with the guy you're running with it and really wait until the last pit stop or the later part of the race to start making some calls, whether you want to undercut or overcut.
We do have a battle mid-class in the prototype field. That is Morton's and Wyans. I believe we've seen them a couple times, and they're going back at it again as Wyans did make a pass on a Porsche driver. We head into corner number 1. He tried to close back in.
Porsche leader spun out.
That's the 911 machine back to second. He only lost.
He's got some right front damage though.
Go load up the instant replay and try to assess what happened to Arjuna. See, he's just headed into the first corner into the horseshoe here, and looks like maybe the brake bias a little bit too far to the rear, and nearly some contact with that prototype there. The prototype was able to stop just in time, but that will cost him 5 seconds to the now Porsche leader of Chris Potter.
I think that kind of opens up the strategy a little bit for Potter. He can kind of go with a bit more of a conservative strategy there, but I think that's also going to make Arjuna, he needs to be a bit more aggressive on it. Maybe try and pit a little bit sooner or a little bit later than that guy in front of him. He needs to try and do something if he wants to try and catch back up.
Yeah, is it going to be a matter of speed? I mean, we haven't really seen them at all in this race, separated by a distance where the slipstream was not going to bring them back into play. So now that they are, we will see if indeed the 911 is going to drop back, or if Potter will start clicking off the better lap times. We'll keep track of that for you. But again, we still have been watching Wyans and Morton in the prototype class, and they are back within 1 or 2 car lengths coming through oval 3 and 4, and Morton definitely has the momentum, goes to the high side. He'll pull door to door with him headed to the stripe, and we'll see who's going to back off first entering 1.
I think it's going to be at that point where neither of them really want to back off. I think Morton is close enough to the outside. As you can see, neither of them backing off entering turn 1. I think Wyans is going to have the advantage having that inside lane though, and he is going to clear him through turn 1. Let's see if Morton can try and stay close enough once again through the infield and maybe make another move out on the oval.
911 car to pit road, guys.
All right, so that is the first major pit stop of the race. That is our former Porsche leader. Remember, he just had that recent incident. You can see the jack going up, so tires being changed on that machine. And we just talked minutes ago of what it does for your competition when you are one of the top leaders in the class. And
Arjuna going behind the wall.
Yeah.
Well, that changes the dynamic quite radically, because our second position in the Porsche class presumably has just retired from the event.
So that's going to take away most of the competition from Christopher Potter, as long as he just runs a clean race. Seems like he has had the best pace. Derwin Kostanok is the second car in the Porsche class right now, and he's 17 seconds behind Potter, and I don't know if he's going to be able to catch him.
Yeah, and also he has to worry about Tay Kim right behind him, so they're both battling for what's effectively now second in class, so they're going to be probably more busy with each other than the leader.
Yeah, Potter on the last time by, just as reference, guys, a 140. Oh, actually, that just changed on me. A 135.16. Well,
that can't be right.
Yeah, how did he run 5 seconds faster than the Rileys?
Yeah, a little bit issue with the overlays right now. I do have reference as he crosses the stripe, and let's just say we don't have accurate lap data for Chris Potter.
He ran a 47.65.
Oh, now it has updated. A little bit of issues on the back end here, but we have sorted it. So he was 0.6 of a second faster than Kostanek. That's what we were trying to accomplish there, although the technical means made that a little more difficult than it needed to be. So, as you guys said, there doesn't seem to be much competition for the Porsche lead at the moment. It's going to be up to Potter not to make a mistake. But again, who have we been talking about all race, at least for the last portion of it? It's going to be Riley Wyans right now. And, of course, actually the 77 of Morton. Big wiggle onto the brakes from the 707. Gets control of it, but loses that time he had.
Yeah, and then Wyans had a wiggle there on the exit of that corner as well. So stayed pretty even as far as gap. And it looks like Morton went really wide there through that corner. That's going to hurt his run back up onto the oval, so that might allow Wyans to get a good enough run to pass him.
Yeah, he dropped a little bit back, about 0.4 of a second, and so we'll see what kind of run he gets off of Oval 2 and heading down the back straightaway into the bus stop. You can see now from the long shot, you can see the momentum he is gaining and the time he is gaining on the Porsche driver. That's Potter right in front of him, Porsche leader. They're going to be door to door. No, he will pull back, try to get the run. Now he's going to be slowed up on the exit of the bus stop by the Porsche. Is the 77 of Morton. He's going to go to the outside, and now what is the 707 of Wyans going to do? He's going to try to get the draft, but Morton takes away the draft by going to the inside. Potter gets out of the way, and now here comes Wyans back into the slipstream and trying to get it into one.
Wyans has a good run, pulling side by side, nosing ahead at the stripe. We'll see what happens down entering turn number 1. We'll see if Wyans can make that outer lane work. Not going to be able to as Morton drives in really deep into that corner, going to clear him. Wyans trying to get back to his left side here, not going to be able to. We'll see if he can make it move down entering turn 3.
Yeah, here he comes into corner number 3 here. He does not make a move, and looks like the back end is kicking around just a little bit on that 707. Maybe a bias adjustment on that machine to have it try to kick out a little bit more, help him with turning, but does make it a little bit more difficult later in the run to maintain that. He has to be careful. Looks like he's even a little bit loose through the kink, but he's going to be hard on the binders for the right-hander. See if he can gain time on Morton. Morton seems to be running rather smooth at this point. We'll see what happens in this left-hander. Morton went really wide in this left-hander last lap, and looks like he will contain himself a little bit better and actually pulls away a little bit heading into the oval.
Looks like Wyans has really abused those rear tires on that 707 Riley, as he is getting really loose just all over the racetrack, so he might be wanting to come down here soon and try and get some new tires, but I think it's still going to be about 10 laps before he really can.
We've only seen one driver who has remained on the racetrack, that is make a pit stop. That is Rich Thorpe. He is last in the Porsche class. We haven't seen any drivers in the front half of either class head to pit road. We are 20 laps in, so presumably we have about 10 laps left for that to happen, give or take. But again, these two drivers going at it again, Wyans and Morton. Wyans to the outside oval, corner number 4, and Morton hugging that yellow line. We're going to go door-to-door yet again. I think for about the 5th consecutive lap, they'll go door-to-door at the start-finish.
Wyans has an even bigger gap entering turn 1, though not quite able to clear, and Morton driving really deep once again, and it's going to clear. Morton is really a lot better than Wyans entering turn 1 there.
Driver telemetry for Riley Wyans right now in that prototype, down to first gear, about 54 miles an hour, 53 miles an hour through the hairpin on the gas pedal rather, as we head through the kink, and it looks like he's going to have to navigate by a slower vehicle. That's going to be a slow prototype, and that's not the line you want to take through there, but he does get through safely. Second gear down to first gear. You can see the difference in lines, a lot tighter of a line for Wyans.
Do have a quick update on the 911 Porsche. I was wondering why that Arjuna retired, and after that spin he had in turn 3, I believe, the 69 prototype made contact with him and damaged the steering on that car, and that is why he pulled it behind the wall.
But I was kind of curious with those that these guys aren't given one fast spur, so that was what I was curious why he left after that.
And maybe not made aware of the issue, or perhaps just it was not fixed to a degree which made him comfortable driving the machine. But here comes an aggressive move to the outside, entering the bus stop. I think the 707, he's going to dive it in deep. He's going to clear him from the outside on entry to the bus stop.
Yeah, I think at that point Morton really just had to kind of give up the position. You don't want to go side by side through there, especially this early in the race. So I think Morton just kind of conceded the position there and might be trying to get it back here down the front stretch. He's going to have a good enough draft to make a move, and he's going to look to the outside. And he has really been beating Wyans here entering turn 1. We'll see if he can do it this time from the outside.
This is for 4th and 5th in the prototype class right now. Drew Reinhardt is 15 seconds ahead, and Shedlick and Weaver are about 30 seconds ahead of these drivers, going for 4th and 5th as they're side by side through the S's. Yet again, Morton's going to take it back. Wyans had it for half a lap, no longer. He's going to get right to the back bumper in the braking zone yet again. And you can see a little bit wiggle on the accelerator from Wyans. He's going to lose that car length back, as looks like I do see another Porsche and a prototype that they may be having to navigate in the near future.
Now it's Joshua Gear and Alex McPherson. They're going to be coming up on here soon. Probably going to catch that 131 Porsche on the oval, as they're only about a half second back, and you can see how much time they gained on braking there just with the extra downforce of that Riley Daytona prototype, as he's coming to the inside here, going to easily be able to get by that Porsche. And Wyans has kind of dropped back a little bit. I wonder if he has kind of just used those tires up a little bit too much trying to get by him. We'll see if he can close back in.
He was in a 4-wheel drift coming out of the infield section, so that probably hurt getting that power down. Again, 500 horsepower and 2,300 pounds. That is one heck of a power-to-weight ratio, and it's a struggle to get these cars to accelerate sometimes.
And coming back onto the oval after exiting the bus stop. Looks like Morton will have a little bit of breathing room of about a half of a second over Wyans, but we'll see what he can do in the oval. As all the way to the top. I can't quite tell who that is, but they're slipstreaming off of another prototype, a slower one off the pace as we complete yet another lap. Again, this is for the 5th position, guys. Well, we got to go back and reference the lead as this has fizzled out. Shedlick, not to forget him, he's up by 2 seconds, which it's a good size gap, but it's not enough where he's kind of off in his own ballpark. He still has to pay attention to Weaver's strategy, because Weaver may not have exactly the pace as Shedlick really struggles through that left-hander. But definitely, I think Weaver, maybe with a reset, with a reprieve, a little bit of time gain, I think he could hold the same pace as Shedlick.
Yeah, they're getting kind of close on when they are going to be wanting to come down pit road, and I don't know if they're going to be getting tires or just fuel. I don't really know how long it's going to take for them to get tires on these cars, so that could be interesting if we do see some drivers trying to double stint it here. And that's not going to be fun for the drivers if they do have to do that.
Does look like Weaver really drove it into the bus stop with aggression. He did, from at least the live telemetry, gain about a second or so. Oh, I'm sorry, a couple tenths of a second, not a second. That'd be rather dramatic. On the live ticker here, you can see that he's about 185 miles an hour, 187. What is he going to top out at entering corner number 1? About 189 miles an hour for that prototype into corner number 1 here at Daytona.
And then all the way down to 68 miles an hour through turn 1. That's where the downforce is helping slow down, but they still have to use a lot of brakes, and it can make these cars really uneasy. Just how you have to enter turn 1. You have to be on the brakes, but while also turning the car. And a lot of cars don't like doing that.
Another thing about the low downforce trim in this car, so we topped out at 189. In the high downforce trim, you're topping out at more like 160. It's like a 30 mile an hour difference just by changing the setup on the car and that big rear wing sitting on the deck lid there. So obviously these cars, very highly tunable. The tube frame chassis back from 2003 was the first year of this car.
And we have been seeing Weaver run quicker lap times, guys, than Shedlick last time by. It was about 0.2 of a second that he was faster over Weaver. So he's going to have to watch out if that is going to be a continuing trend as again time goes by. I think we're heading at about 5:15, and I think it's called VST, Virtual Standard Time. Our partners at GSC deem, so we'll use that time zone of logic here. So the headlights should be turning on, the track light should be turning on, and quick reference as to the track temp that is going down. Now it's 74, was 75, started at 77, so the lap times are going to go down, the speeds will go up, the grip level going up, so all the dynamics in play here at Daytona.
Yeah, track temp is down to 74 degrees, and I think you said it started at 77, so down to 3 degrees already, and that's just more grip out the air for these drivers, and I would not be surprised to see lap times just continuing to get faster and faster.
So a battle we haven't followed as we're kind of watching some of the mid-pack stuff go on here as the race goes on. Taj Edwards, I don't think we followed him once today. He's in the 19 Porsche, running 5th in class, but he's not too far off of Will Fisher in the 12th, who again, we haven't talked about Will rather much tonight as well. So that is a pretty good battle going on in the Porsche class. That is 4th on track, and not too far ahead of that is the Porsche pole sitter of tonight, Ty Kim in the 777. He's only about 4 seconds or so ahead of Fisher, so that's not a terrible gap to overcome if anything happens. We've seen a lot of spins tonight, so still maybe not for the lead in the class, but the top 5 in the Porsche class still has a lot to race for.
Yeah, looks like Potter still has about an 18-second lead over second place Derwin Kostenach. And it looks like Potter is just continuing to run faster than Kostenach, so I think it's going to take an issue out of that 9 car for anyone else to be able to get up here and lead this race, but still early on, a lot can happen.
Yes, it is, as we're pretty much, I'd say about 35 to 40% through with this race. As my loose mathematics says, we've raced for 40 minutes. We've raced for 24 of, again, approximately 70 to 75 laps in the books based on what we can see here for the prototype class. So a lot of racing to go. Pit stop should be within about 5 laps, 5 to 8 laps, I'd say, for the prototype class. Shedlick's lead over Weaver now less than a second as, again, heavy Porsche traffic to navigate right now. Just past one, about to pass another through the S's. That's probably the least opportune place to make a pass, but that Porsche will get out of the way as quickly as possible for at least Shedlick. Weaver will try to hopefully catch him into the right-hander after the kink, but it may be an awkward time for him.
Weaver going to get by him fairly easily there through the kink. And we'll see here if Weaver can continue to close in on our leader of Shedlick. And at this point, is Weaver going to be trying very hard to get by him, or just is he going to try and wait for pit stops and then see what happens there? What do you think, Corey?
Well, at this point, Evan, I mean, you know you're faster, and at this point I think he knows he's faster on the long haul. He maybe has preserved the tires a little bit better, so if he can get by before pit stops, I think that would be the opportune approach. Maybe he can pull him by about a second and a half, or get Shedlick trying to assess how it is to drive from second, maybe get him to make a mistake trying to make the repass. So I think at this point, at least in my driver's opinion, I would go for it. You've gotten there, might as well finish the deed and try to get it done before pit stops.
Yeah, because last time by, it looks like Weaver was about 0.8 of a second quicker than Shedlick. But it looks like this lap, Shedlick might be pulling away just a little bit, so I wonder if he was just making a few mistakes on those laps, or if Weaver is making mistakes now.
Yeah, I think the traffic definitely had an issue. I think it affected both drivers, though. Last time by, Shedlick was almost 0.8 faster, but this most recent lap, the gap was only 0.2 of a second, and it was to the favor of the 66, so the gap within a half second. You see a wiggle there, exiting one and through the S's for Weaver. That's going to bring it even closer. 0.4, how about 3/4 of a, how about 0.3, how about a quarter of a second into corner number 2, into the hairpin here. And we're going to have a battle for the lead, guys, heading onto the oval.
And they're going to have two Porsches in front of them that they're going to have to navigate through down on the oval. Hopefully they can get by him before the bus stop. I think they will. Coming down into turn number 5 now. Weaver's going to try and get a better run out of this corner, and the next one trying to get up onto the oval as fast as he can with as much of a run as he can.
Yes, he is. He's right within, he's definitely within slipstream range, but they're going to catch these guys right now, headed through one and into the back straightaway here at Daytona. They're going to go to the high side of the track. The 66 going to stay down low, try to get the slipstream off the Porsche as much as possible. Now we're going to be playing slalom down the back straightaway. They're going to clear that Porsche before the bus stop. He's going to hit the binders and make sure that they are clear heading into the bus stop, so not as much drama as anticipated, but kicking up some dust for both of the leaders there in the prototype class, headed back onto the oval, about 0.4, and still some traffic more in the future.
Looks like that traffic did hurt Weaver just a little bit. Shedlick able to pull away. Probably helped him having a bit of a draft from this Porsches, as the gap is now just over a half second, and coming up on two more Porsches as they get ready to enter turn 1. I'm not quite sure where they are going to catch them. Looks like they might catch them actually in turn 1, or maybe the S's, and that's not where you want to catch slower cars.
Yeah, this is the worst part of the track through the S's. You can see Shedlick had to back off. That's going to bring Weaver right to his back bumper, and now they're going to dive into the hairpin, try to get to the inside, but not close enough to do so. So now 4 cars under a blanket. These 2 Porsches right in front of the leaders. And to the right side, heading into the kink. Shedlick will clear him into the kink, but Weaver's not going to be so lucky. He's going to have to back off, go to the right side of the Porsche. Now he's going to dive into the braking zone, try to take advantage, as Shedlick's going to be going to the left side of the Porsche on the outside line. That's going to set him up for the next corner, but all throughout this, guys, the interval really hasn't changed. They've navigated this traffic and really not lost much time to each other.
Yeah, I really thought Weaver was going to gain some time there, gains a lot of time there, being able to run the inside there through turn 5, but if anything, he actually lost a lot of time as the gap is almost up to a full second once again. Yeah,
he did not get off the final corner of the infield heading back into the oval, and that's really the corner that you need to nail. He did not do as such, so brings him back to about 3/4 of a second, but based on what we have seen, I'd expect him to be able to close, as we are 27 laps, taking lap number 28. This is the battle for the prototype lead, the battle in the Porsche class, while Chris Potter is just out driving into the literal sunset here with a 25-second gap over Derwin Kostanek, who is second in the Porsche class, and still some battles in the Porsche to watch, but we got to keep our eyes on the best battle on the track, which is for the prototype leader.
Here comes Weaver to pit road.
First pit stop of the leaders, hard into the pit road here, trying to get every last second. So what does this do for Shedlick?
Lap 27 coming down pit road here, so it's definitely going to be a two-stopper for him, and most likely going to be a two-stopper for everyone. So we'll see when is Shedlick going to decide to come down pit road, and is he going to get onto pit road as well as Weaver did?
Yeah, that's something that can cost you so much time. We know in every form of racing, whether road, oval, dirt, rally, well, maybe not so much rallycross, but every opportunity of racing where get into that pit road, you have to get in as hard as you can. You can't speed. You got to get right in that pit box efficiently, because that can cost you so much time on the racetrack. So we're waiting for Shedlick. He is just exiting the infield, heading back onto the oval. He knows that his biggest competition has pitted, so does he stick to his strategy, or does he just try to get right on the same pace?
If I was Shedlick, I'd probably come down this lap here, and we'll see if he does decide to do so as he comes down onto the backstretch here.
Weaver merges back into the 5th place right now. He is behind Morton and Schoolmeister, which is 3rd and 4th in class. He will pass those drivers relatively quickly, but here comes Shedlick through the bus stop into oval 3 and 4. So if he's going to pit this time by and stay on the same strategy as Weaver, this is going to be when he's going to have to pull down.
25-second pit stop on the 66 of Weaver. We'll see what kind of stop Shedlick is going to have here.
Nope, staying out. So he's going to stick to his own guns, whatever strategy that happened to be. So again, we were told about 30 laps approximately for the DPs, so that will give him about 2 more laps, and he's overcooking the brakes there into 1, kicking up some smoke and really wide, but able to get everything situated properly and stay on the racetrack. But we got to watch Weaver get through this traffic. He's still trying to get by the 0.8 of Schoolmeister. He's about 0.8 of a second back. He wants to get as much time as he can, because this could amount to a lead over Shedlick when everything's said and done.
And he is on a little bit fresher tires, but we really didn't see too much of fall off there. As here comes Schoolmeister to pit road, so that's going to allow Weaver to have some clean track in front of him to try and get the best lap time he can, and try and gain enough time where he will cycle ahead of Shedlick. See if he can do so.
And we'll keep an eye on that. But right now, I want to check a look at the position number 2 in the Porsche class right now. Derwin Kostanek and Ty Kim. Ty Kim, remember, he was the pole sitter in the class. But he has dropped back. Kostanek was able to get by him. Fisher 3 seconds behind him, but Fisher has Taj Edwards in the number 19 machine trying to close in on him. So we've been following the DP class a lot. Again, the Porsche leaders have not been of competition since Arjuna Kankapati had issues and left the race, but still a lot of battling in the top 5 in the Porsche class.
And in the spirit of the classic race at Daytona, I got a little factoid for you. The last time that a Porsche, a true GT Porsche, won the overall race, the Daytona 24 Hours, it was back in 1977 with the Porsche Carrera RSR, driven by Hurley Haywood, John Graves, and Dave Helmick. And that was on February 5th and 6th, 1977.
Now I'm trying to reference which commentator had a stat for absolutely everything. There was one of them.
Larry McReynolds is your guy?
It was for a different channel. Now it'll come to me over the next hour. But Kyle, I had you do your research on statistician. You did not let me down. So
I try.
You did a great job. So we are closing in on halfway right now in this race. Again, want to welcome and thank everyone for tuning in to the iRacing Esports Network, Primetime Racing TV's debut broadcast on the Esports Network. It's a classic 2 hours of Daytona. We are racing the Daytona prototype Riley car versus the Porsche Cup machine here for 2 hours. We've had about 23 drivers on the track. Start the race, about 20 still in, about 10 in each class, still under competition here. It's Corey Silva and Evan Black for PTR TV, and we've brought in some partners from Sim TV, Kyle Hare and Finian DeCuna. So Hope everyone is enjoying the race. About half of it left to go, and as we can tell, guys, it is the darkness is setting here in the virtual world at Daytona, as the virtual clock, I want to say, must be about 6 o'clock, about 5:30, 6 o'clock in that time frame now. So we will be seeing the headlights turn on shortly and the track temp cooling down even further. The lap times picking up, and hopefully the competition for these class positions.
Yeah, and Shedlick has come down to pit road and it's actually expanded his lead over Weaver.
Yeah, Shedwick on a bit of a different strategy. He only had a 19-second pit stop there, so taking a little bit less fuel than Weaver. And that'll be interesting to see how that all does play out, as he will have to take on more fuel on the second pit stop, so maybe Weaver can close back in there, as the gap is now right about 6 seconds.
Yeah, that was a strategy I kind of called pre-race. I wasn't sure if people were going to do it, where instead of, as we said, taking the full load and then maybe just taking a splash for your second stop to get you to the end, kind of divvy it up and have a shorter first stop, but of course that would lead to a longer second stop. So if in terms of speed, Weaver is able to eat into this gap into Shedlick and get even to within 1 or 2 seconds of him, even 3 for that matter, that shorter stop that he's going to have for his second one, that automatically should give him that buffer to have quite an advantage for the final stint.
You know, watching to see what the lap time differences are with Shedwick having a little bit less fuel on board. He could be a little bit faster now than Weaver, so it's going to be really interesting to see how all this does play out, as there will still be at least one more pit stop.
See right now, that is the 66 of Weaver trying to pass a Porsche. He goes wide in the hairpin into the grass, trying to get around a Porsche, not able to do so. That's going to cost him about 2-3 seconds with that off-track excursion.
Yeah, and it could have been a lot worse. There was near contact with, I'm trying to see who that was, the 16 or the 13 Porsche. They almost got together, and if they did, that could have been disastrous for Justin Weaver.
Yeah, that was Jeffrey Garzotto in that number 13 teal blue Porsche right there, and I'd have to imagine it was not an anticipated situation, but you know, it just happens. And you see he just pulls far to the left, and he's going to get as far out of the way as possible to not cause any further issues for the prototype. And it looks like right behind Garzotto, that is a battle for position. That's the number 94 of Andrew Fawcett. So and I'm not sure if that car should be on the stream right now with that name, but he can come through corner number 3 and 4, and they are within about 0.3 of a second. And then that is a battle for 6th and 7th in the class.
Fawcett might be able to make a move here entering turn 1. I don't think he had quite enough of a draft to make a move, but these guys still have not come to pit road. They're going to need to here soon, as none of the Porsches have actually come to pit road except for Rich Thorpe in that 91, who made his pit stop a little while ago. So it's going to be interesting to see when the Porsches do decide to come down pit road.
Yeah.
We are 6 minutes from halfway, so I think these guys are going to be able to, or at least going to try to be able to make it on just one stop.
Yeah, second right now in the Porsche class, Derwin Kostanak. He is going through quite the competition now, as that is the DP class leader of Shedlick, who gets by in the center of the infield, heading back onto the oval. You can see that green and yellow Porsche going really wide for the leader. We will try to get the name on that driver. Been referencing colors all race. That's Alex McPherson, the 131. He went wide there and allows all these drivers to go to the inside off of 2 and into the bus stop. But again, we were referencing battles for position in the Porsche class, guys, and it does look like Fisher and Kim, that battle is heating up as all that traffic has brought them together. So we'll see if Fisher in that 12 machine, he's only about half a second behind Kim. And then we saw Taj Edwards within 0.3. So 3 drivers within a second here, 3rd through 5th in the Porsches.
Yeah, and just not far in front of them, Derwin Kostanak in 2nd. So really about 4 cars within a second and a half or 2 seconds. So this is actually going to turn out to be a pretty good battle going on for a second, especially if they can get a bit closer.
Now Potter is well far ahead of them, so not a battle that they will have. As we can see, the lights on the Daytona Oval have began to illuminate, and the headlights should be following shortly as nighttime will set here at Daytona. We won't go full on black, but we will race into the twilight here as this final hour of action will wind down. And coming into the infield right here, you can see Kostanak in the 190 pulls away just by a little bit over Fisher. I'm sorry, over Kim. Fisher trying to close in on Kim, and then again Taj Edwards right behind that. And then right behind Edwards, that is a prototype. That is Weaver in the 66. He's 9 seconds behind Shedlick, so he's losing time, but he's a fast machine. He wants to try to gain that time for the final stint, so he does not want to mess around with these Porsches, but they're all battling for position.
Yeah, and Weaver, he is 10 seconds back now after his couple of incidents and one off-track excursion, if I can speak. He's over 10 seconds back now. That's going to be really hard for him to make up, but it looks like he is going to be able to get by these Porsches pretty easily.
So again, we just have to reference to folks watching that Shedlick is on a different fuel strategy. He put less fuel in, presumably to put a little bit more fuel in on the final stint, splitting up the necessary fuel required to finish the race, and Weaver went for the full fuel load and presumably what will be a splash for the final run. So while Weaver is back by 10 seconds, he's automatically going to have, at least according to what we believe, a shorter final stop. So how will that affect the interval, and how will that affect how they shake out for the final stint? Well, that is to be determined in about 20 laps or 25 laps, so a lot of time to assess. A lot of things can happen to change that lead on track, but I guess we reference everything seems to be going on in the Porsches. The DPs have pretty spread out at this point. Not much going on. Everybody within about 2.5, 3 seconds of each other at least.
Will Fisher is the first Porsche to come down pit road, so I don't think he's going to be able to make it on one stop, but a few others, they might be trying to. They'll have to go another lap or two, and then they will be able to make it on one stop.
Yeah, that'll put him, you figure, at about 2 minutes, almost 3 minutes short of halfway. That'll put him just about 2 laps. It could even be 3. It all depends how the white flag cycles out. So he'd have to save about 3 laps, which if he starts from the beginning, he could probably get at least 2 of those, but that's a lot of time, guys, to make up, especially while you're trying to keep these positions.
I think one thing a lot of the Porsche drivers are hoping and waiting for is those headlights to pop on the Rileys. Obviously getting quite dark out there now. And without the headlights looking in the mirror, it's going to be real hard to spot those charging Rileys.
And that's actually a very good point, Kyle. Not every car on the iRacing service has working headlights. Have we confirmed whether the Porsche has working headlights or not?
The Porsche does have headlights, as does the Riley, and I believe both cars can also flash their headlights as well.
Okay, so that, because I do remember there was a race I did watch at some circuit when the transitions first came into the service where there was not lights on one of the road cars, and that made it rather difficult. I want to say it was a Camel GT series at Sebring. But yeah, so that is good to know, because it will not be a very easy scene to drive without lights as the night does go down. But as the night does begin again, we've been following the track temp all race. It was, I believe, 74 last reference, again down to 73, and that's 4 degrees down since the beginning of the race at halfway, and that should go down exponentially as it does get even cooler as the sun goes down. So we'll keep an eye on that, but I do want to follow yet again the battles in the Porsche, because that is where it has been. And as we do see the pit stops happen, Taj Edwards in pit road right now as Alex McPherson, so we'll have to see how these pit stops shake up the Porsche running order.
Yeah, Fisher already came down pit road. He ran he had a 31-second pit stop, and about a second faster than Taj Edwards' pit stop, as the headlights have come on now for the Porsches as well as the Rileys. So that's definitely going to help with visibility.
I'd like to say so.
It's a lot easier to see when you have lights.
Well, I think the bigger thing is not even the light that they cast on the ground, because Daytona Speedway is lit at night. It's more about the ability to flash your headlights and allow other drivers in front of you to know that you're making a move. It's more about signaling to other drivers than it is about casting the light.
Yeah, we have at other tracks in the world, obviously they do not have stadium lighting. Daytona is obviously lucky to have that. So as you said, something that you go into the bus stop, maybe a prototype is behind you, he could flash his headlights and try to maybe ask for permission to get by, if you will. Or on the other side of it, where you may have a Porsche who's trying to get by a slower Porsche, again, you can use that feature to your advantage. This is P2 again. P2 in the Porsche class. It's Derwin Kostanak and Ty Kim. They were separated by 2/10, but looks like Kim really took it easy on the braking zone into one. Dropped back about 3/4 of a second, but he's going to be back on the throttle as they are about to pass a prototype. Maybe off the pace, I do assume.
Yeah, it's Drew Reinhardt.
He may have just gotten by or the other way around, but he is right in front of them. I know he has been a little bit slow. We'll check up on that, but this is for second in the class. Remember, Potter, who has been dominating this class, he's all the way into oval turn number, I believe it is 2 right now. So he has quite the lead on these drivers.
You guys were talking about Drew Reinhardt. The damage he has on the right front is back with contact with the 911 Porsche on lap number 15, I believe it was. So that right front damage probably hurting the downforce and top end of that car as well.
But still holding P3 in the class. Maybe not as slow as I had originally thought, but he is running third in the class. He has 18 seconds if he wants to get second, but he also has about a 22-second buffer over fourth. So guys, when you're in this kind of position that Drew is in right now, I mean, you're third, so you have a lot on the table. You still have that podium, but in many ways, if you're Reinhardt, this is almost a time trial. You don't have much ahead of you. You don't have much behind you. You're just kind of observing your lap traffic, running your own race, and kind of just seeing how it shakes out.
I think it's important to keep the front 2 drivers in sight, though, because we don't know if Weaver can chase down Shedlick again, and if they get close towards the end, who knows what could happen for Drew Reinhardt in the 69.
Yeah, the gap's still about 10 seconds between Shedlick and Weaver, so Weaver has not been able to close in quite yet, so that's going to be interesting to see how all that does play out. With Weaver is going to be able to take a shorter pit stop before the final stint, and I'm still kind of surprised the leading Porsche still have not come to pit road yet. We are past halfway in this race, so they can come at any point now, and they will be able to make it on fuel.
Yep, they are 3 minutes past 3 minutes into the second half of this race. So at this point, well, if the tires are feeling good, I mean, maybe you can run the fuel load out and just put that much less fuel in for the final stop, shorten that up just a little bit.
The 707 prototype went around in turn number 1. That's Riley Wyans. Just took a little loop.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him because he just started to get a lead over the 77 of Benjamin Morton, who he's been battling all race. And I was effectively lost that and going to have to try to chase that back down.
And we'll watch that on PTR TV replay. Heading into the first corner here and just overcooked it. Had a little bit of traffic right in front of him, so I wonder if that just got him off his marks or just kind of had him thinking a little bit too much and looped it around. Just harmless spin, so.
Yeah, him and Morton have been together for pretty much the entire race, and he finally started to get away from him, and now Morton right back in front of him by just over 4.5 seconds. So I don't know if Wyans is going to be able to close that in, but we'll see if he can do so.
So coming into the kink right now, you can see your leader is about to pass yet another Porsche, who looks like he got right in the line there, kind of threw him off a little bit. That's the number 19 of Taj Edwards, right in front of your prototype leader, but he will go to the outside is Shedlick, and looks like we have a request, so we will fulfill it for the fan. Let's go on board and watch this prototype navigate through the field here, run a lap here at the Daytona International. We are in oval 1 and 2 right now, and up to 165, 170 miles an hour. The headlights on, the sunset in full effect here, headed into the bus stop at about 185 miles an hour. Taking the hard left, and this is going to be an awkward passing opportunity, an awkward closing rate right at the end of the bus stop, but the 12 of Fisher gets out of the way of him, so not much of an inconvenience for your leader, but again, he is going through oval 3 and 4, and I think we caught him at about 187 miles an hour last time we did this. We'll see maybe with the lower track temp and the fresher tires if he's able to maybe hit that 190 mark. Looks like, no, about 186 into corner number 1. You can see just you can see how much work he's having to do, guys, how much work these drivers are having to do through turn 1. Turn 1 here at Daytona, we really haven't talked about it too much. When you're coming off the banking, turning into the infield, that pavement is not smooth at all. You're trying to do a lot of things with the vehicle, getting it turned, getting it slowed, all that transitions in pavement. It really is not an easy part of the track.
Yeah, Corey, down in turn number 1, the whole track is really off camber there, because not only is this track a road course, it's also an oval, so that really can't be cambered there. So what that means is that the Porsches lock up their front brakes there, especially carrying an extra 600 pounds over the Riley, but neither of these cars have anti-lock braking systems, and that's a very tricky place as you're turning and trying to stop the car, so you'll definitely lock up that left front tire. It'll probably be a little bit easier for the Rileys to brake than the Porsches, but obviously a very tricky corner, and it really gets the car off balance.
Yeah, it's hard enough to turn and brake at the same time, let alone turning, braking, and asking your car to go off turning, braking, and trying to ask your car to go off banking. So that's why we've seen so many issues with cars getting loose there and quite a few looping it there. So it's just a hard part of the track.
And even by extension to the turn back onto the banking is treacherous for similar conditions, just due to being pretty rough surface, not that smooth, and also turning and giving the car some gas. So definitely another part of the track that's tricky as well.
And both these cars you really kind of have to wrestle them to get speed out of them. The Riley, especially on the low downforce trim, that is a car that you have to manhandle. And a lot of these drivers right now running that low downforce setup, especially under throttle, if you can control the wheel spin, it's going to be fast on corner exit.
Yeah, that definitely is the situation, as we do have it is a battle, I believe it is for 6th in the DP class. Crouch and Schoolmeister. Crouch is trying to close in on that 08 who was just in front of him. He was a little bit closer. He did lose some time on that last lap that did pass by. So looks like that battle has fizzled out, but again, still, we've had battles in the Porsche class all race. These guys are really very similarly paced in the Porsche class right now, but at the moment it is Potter leading by, well, quite the margin actually at this point, so he does not have any competition. Ever since, remember, Arjuna Kantapati had his issues with the steering. They were battling non-stop back and forth within half a second the whole race, and the 911 had his issue, and ever since then, Potter's just been, just on a mission not to screw up.
Oh, second and third in Porsche, both spinning out of onto the oval.
Yeah, Ty Kim and who is the other driver? Derwin Kostanak having issues.
And just talking about Ty Kim, he was right up there having a good battle with these guys holding him off. He just got loose entering that left-hander. He got loose, saved it, got loose, saved it, and then Kostanak, I wonder if he was just thrown off just because of what was happening and just out of almost a reactionary spin, if you will.
The 69 or 66 car of Justin Weaver actually split those two cars as they spun and drove right through the middle of them. That got to be a scary moment there for Weaver.
Go on board with Weaver and maybe try to catch that one live if we can. We see on replay he's heading into that left hand. You can see the smoke from one. All right, he saves it. Everything's good. Smoke from another. Now he's on the binders. Now he's going right. Not what you need when you're trying to gain time on the leader. Now remember, he was 10 seconds back. Now I think that little maneuver has put him back to 13 seconds off the lead. But again, this could even out. We have to remember that dynamic of the final stop where he's going to have, I think we estimated it about a 7 to 8 second shorter stop, shorter time on pit road. So just use that mathematics right now. If he's 7 seconds of less time on pit road, it's still going to be a 6 second deficit. So that's just think of all these mistakes that have been made, all these issues that have been made. All of that might be what takes Weaver away from the win or any chance at it, but still a lot of racing left to go.
Yeah, gap now up to almost 14 seconds between those two. And part of that could be because Shedlock does have less fuel on board. We've talked about it before. He's got a lighter car because he's got about 7-8 seconds less fuel, so he is definitely going to be able to go faster. So that could be part of the reason why he is continuing to pull away.
And we'll try to keep an eye on the lap times. Last time by, he was 0.4 of a second faster for Shedlick, so of course that does make the difference. But it's been a couple laps since these drivers have each had clean real estate, so we'll kind of have to wait for, obviously Shedlick's kind of in his own zone right now, but now Weaver finally able to run his own pace, so we'll have to see what indeed the differential is in clean traffic, or clean real estate rather. About a 140 flat for Shedlick, and this is not necessarily going to be a full indicative of what Weaver is capable of, but as he crosses the stripe, looks like we're going to update to a 41.6, so over a second back. That's not what he needs. Now it's 14 seconds.
And Jim Shedlick has actually been getting quicker as the night has gone on. He actually ran his best lap on lap number 31, a 140.056. That was about 11 laps ago. So Shedlick is on it right now, and Weaver's struggling to keep up.
And again, the lap times should be getting better, as obviously the track is cooling down, the rubber is going in, which is adding even more grip. So everything in terms of physics is making it so you should be running faster. And obviously with setups, you can tune your setups to be more prone to handling better and running better in the night conditions. So where these guys knew we were only going to have about an hour of daylight, you know you want to be faster when it matters. So setups may be slightly tuned to behave better in the night conditions.
Yeah, even with 10 more laps on his tires, his last lap was only 3/10 slower than his fastest laps, and not much tire fall off, and probably a lot of that has to do with these cooler track temps. Still currently at 73 degrees, but I would not be surprised to see it get down to 71 or 72 here soon.
So looks like Shedlick and Weaver, they're gonna settle themselves out, because with Reinhardt, he's 21 seconds behind, and we can see on the back straightaway, I saw the flashing headlights we were referring to, because he is in heavy traffic, the 69 of Reinhardt. He just passed two Porsches rather. We saw the headlights flash and try to let him know, I'm coming in really aggressive into this corner, please let me by, I got things I need to accomplish. And he's gonna go high in the oval and pass yet another one. So that's, again, that is third place in the class, 35 off the lead, 21 off of his nearest competition. But then we're going to go and rewind another 30 seconds, and we're going to find Morton, Benjamin Morton. Remember, he's been racing with Riley Wyans for most of the race. They're both headed to the bus stop right now. Wyans is about 2 seconds back, but on the stopwatch, he was significantly faster last lap, so we'll see if that trend does continue. And
yeah, Wyans had that spin about 5-10 laps ago and was about 6 seconds back, and now he's got it down to just under a second and a half.
And as he crosses the stripe to complete yet another lap, we'll reference where these guys are on the lap chart right now. 141.2 for Wyans, and have temporarily lost feed of the 77 of Morton. And I'm not, we'll wait to see if we get him back. But remember, as we said, there was an incident cap in this race, announced to what I had originally thought. 50 incidents, so if we don't get him back, I mean, we could throw it up to just basic sim racing. Hopefully he's able to get back in via internet issues, or he may have hit that incident limit, guys, and been removed by stewards.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he does come back or what happens with that.
I took a look, and the car was disconnected down in turn number 1, and I didn't see him clip the grass or anything, so I'd be surprised if it was the incident limit, but it's not totally out of the question.
That's something we'll keep an eye on, but it makes Riley Wyans' life a lot easier, because now he has 7.5 seconds over Shoemeister, who is his nearest competition and 5th in the class now.
Yeah, that was a throughput error there for the 77.
So, the internet not playing nice for the 77 in sim racing terms, so we'll have to see if he's able to get back in and finish the race out and do the best he can. But for the time being, the 707 of Wyans will just continue in the 4th spot as we go through the classes and kind of give you a whole rundown of each class grid at the moment. Daniel Shoemeister in the 5th position. He is actually in close quarters proximity to Rob Crouch, who's in the 112. This is an active battle for the 5th position. Follow this as we have time to at the moment. See if Crouch does decide to make a move. He is within 3/10, so is he going to back off? Is he going to press the issue?
He wasn't quite close enough there entering turn 1 to make a move. Lost a little time through that corner now, coming through turn 2, entering 3 now. And he is losing a little bit of time, so hopefully he can gain it back and maybe try and make a move on the oval, but it's right about 3/4 of a second back, and it's actually getting a bit further away now.
The 3 Daytona prototype of James Harris was actually stuck behind a couple Porsches here, and for the majority of the infield, and doesn't look like his car is completely up to speed. So this is an awkward class interaction here with the Riley stuck behind the Porsches and not able to get away.
Yeah, he is right behind the 19 right now, the 19 Porsche. That is Taj Edwards. He's 3rd in the Porsche class right now. So trying not to interfere too much. And then a Porsche right behind that. That is the 777 of Ty Kim. So again, an awkward situation where either pace or damage has slowed that 3 down. But he has had multiple issues with spinning tonight. So have to follow that. But just to round out the DP class, Matthew Sanderson in the 22. He is running in the 7th position in the class. We've lost obviously Ben Morton, who still scored at the moment at least in 8th, but he will fall back. And then Harris and Joshua Gear rounding out the Porsche, the DP grid at the moment.
And it looks like Rob Crouch actually is starting to close back in on Schoolmeister a little bit. On the oval, he's going to get close enough to maybe make a move entering turn 1. Not quite, but it looks like Crouch is gaining a lot of time on the oval and then just losing in the infield, and it's not quite staying close enough to the infield where he can make a move on oval, just to where he gets right up to about a half-second gap. And for the Porsche lineup, currently Chris Potter is leading that by over 13 seconds back to Will Fisher. And Potter did take tires on the last pit stop, and it looks like Fisher and everyone else did not. So that's going to help Potter to even continue to gain on that gap, as he's almost 2 seconds quicker last time by. Like we said, Will Fisher running in 2nd, Taj Edwards in 3rd, about 1.8 seconds off of Will Fisher. Ty Kim in 4th, about 1.2 seconds off of Taj. And then Derwin Kosanak currently running in 5th.
Oh, we have a prototype around.
Yeah, it's the 3 car, James Harris, and there was actually contact between him and Taj Edwards in the 19 Porsche.
The 14 of Joshua Gear was around in the bus stop as well.
Seen James Harris have quite a few issues tonight.
Yeah, there was some contact with the 3 and the number 19 Porsche in the infield, and Edwards let him on by and flashed the headlights in disapproval. Then Harris goes down to the bus stop and loops it. And you guys mentioned another car looping it around there as well. So the bus stop also a trouble spot here tonight, as well as turn 1.
And Ty Kim did a fantastic job of avoiding the 14 who was spinning around. Almost got hit by him in the bus stop, but was able to avoid a collision.
So throws a little bit of a curveball in here, especially when we have drivers having issues. It happens quite frequently sometimes in a slower class. You see the faster class coming up behind you, and you know they are faster, they are going to catch you, but you want to get out of the way. But at the same time, you still have to do what you're doing, run your race, run your line, at least to get through maybe a troublesome corner. But obviously can be a little bit much of a distraction and just cause you to go a little bit offline sometimes.
It's kind of weird to see both Gear and Harris spin out in almost the exact same spot and almost the exact same way, entering the bus stop there.
I think part of the pressure for the number 14 is he had Ty Kim right on his rear bumper, and as that lead class, you're not really supposed to be mingling amongst the Porsches, so I think what ended up happening here is he probably just mirror driving more than anything and got down to the bus stop and just missed that braking point. And again, no ABS or traction control on either of these cars, and obviously once you drive over the limit, it's very rare that you can get it back.
Yes, it is, but guys, we are closing in on the waning stages of this race. We are about 70% of the way through, only about 40 minutes left. So it's been about, for at least your prototype guys, it's been about 20-ish laps, give or take, and then for your Porsche class, obviously the most of them are going to the end. So we should see within, I'd say, about 10 to 15 minutes, I think we're going to see these DPs make their final stop, and not too much I'm expecting to shake up front just because of the gap that Shedlick has been able to accumulate. But we do know positions ladder in the top 5, a lot could shake up at the tail end for these guys, as they still are running pretty close.
Shedlick is going to need to pit a little bit sooner than Weaver, as he's got, like we said, about 6 seconds less fuel. So he is definitely going to need to pit probably 3 or 4 laps sooner, I would think, which would put him coming down anytime here.
Yeah, that was an interesting dynamic, Evan. I didn't really consider that or think of that. So that's 6 seconds of fuel. That could be about 2 or 3 laps approximately. So again, it won't inhibit him from making the end of the race, but it will draw him in earlier, and it'll give Weaver, if not a temporary lead, it'll draw him in a little bit closer, and maybe you never know how it could shake out. But guys, at least on the stopwatch, still Shedlick last time by a full second faster than Weaver.
Yeah, Weaver must have had some sort of issue. Yeah, he backed it into the wall in the bus stop on that last lap. He got loose on corner entry and just backed it into the tire barrier. I don't think it hurt the car too much, but he lost about 10 seconds from that.
Yeah, as the ticker updates for that last lap, as you said, Evan, the prior lap it was a 1 second gap, but now this past lap, as you said, 10 seconds. So what was about a 13 to 15 second gap we were working on, now it's 26 seconds. And now Weaver, if anything, he's going to have to watch out, because that may bring the 69. He's only 17 seconds behind him, but if he keeps making all these mistakes, he could bring third place back into the mix, because Reinhardt hasn't really made too many mistakes here tonight. That car is still rather clean, so sometimes, clean and methodical, that could win the day.
Yeah, and Reinhardt on his last pit stop, he had a 17-second pit stop, so he took even less fuel than Shedlick, so he's going to have to come down here really soon if he's going to not run out.
Let's just go back just a little bit. We do have still an active battle for position in the prototype class. That is Crouch and Schoolmeester. We watched it a little bit earlier, but they still are in proximity of each other, and I think we saw Crouch behind Schoolmeester, so I'm pretty sure he got by, but Schoolmeester's still hanging on with him within 0.8 of a second, within slipstream range. So we'll see if he's able to get by, because he is not losing the back bumper at all. And there is a Porsche ahead of both of you guys, as well as a faster DP driver on a different lap.
Yeah, Crouch went pretty wide there, coming back up onto the oval. Didn't quite get as good of a run as he would have liked, and that's going to allow Schoolmeester to close in just a little bit here on the oval part. About 0.3 of a second is the gap as they get by that Porsche, and coming up on another prototype, Joshua Gear, in that 14, he had to spin a bit earlier on in the race. It's going to allow Crouch to get by him, and Schoolmeester going to try and come by as well.
We do have a prototype on pit road, guys. Third place of Drew Reinhardt. We were just talking about him as he was starting to close in on Weaver, as Weaver has been having some issues and making some mistakes. So what was the stop? An 18-second pit stop for Reinhardt. That was the same length of stop that Shedlick had his first time, and it was the same exact length of time on pit road, so I think they are on the same fuel strategy.
Well, the thing is, on that first pit stop, Reinhardt only took about 17 seconds of fuel. So about only 17 seconds on the first stop and then 18 on the second stop. It's going to be interesting to see how that all works out.
So he may be running this as lean as possible, which is exactly what you need to do, but you just have to make sure you have that little bit of buffer in it so that you do indeed make it all the way to the finish. You don't need to be sputtering on the final lap as you're trying to make these spots up, as Reinhardt will go by Riley Wyans, who we are still waiting to pit.
Big battle for fifth right now between Rob Crouch and Daniel Schoolmeester as they're working their way behind a number 19 Porsche, and a kind of a scary moment there. The 112 went around the outside of the International Horseshoe, and that's kind of a risky place to make a move if the inside car makes a slip.
Yes, it is, because that's just a very narrow part of the track and a lot of bumps there, and it sets you up for that left-hander heading back into the oval, but not quite advantageous enough for Schoolmeester. He will drop back about 0.6 of a second, as there is a Porsche they are getting by in the bus stop right here. That will be advantageous for Crouch, but Schoolmeester's going to have to try to get the slipstream, try to get by, and maybe prepare him for another slingshot to get back up to the 112, but it's not going to work out in his favor. Back about 0.75 of a second now. So that is right at the edge of the slipstream range for the prototype, as it hasn't been overly prevalent here tonight. So he's going to have to use some pure speed in the infield to try to get that back.
Yeah, I think Crouch might be a little bit faster here, as he was able to catch back up to him and pass him, and now it looks like he is starting to pull a little bit through the infield, but still quite a few more corners to go before they get back out onto the oval. And actually, Schoolmeister closing in, entering turn 3. See if he can keep that up on corner X, and it looks like he is going to, so pretty even from those two.
And a battle for third as well. Riley Wyans and Drew Reinhardt. Drew Reinhardt just came down to pit road a couple laps ago, so will likely get back by this 707 here.
Yes, he will. Obviously, the fresher tires, and still waiting for Wyans to come to pit road. He will be due any time now, and here comes Reinhardt right to the back bumper, but surprisingly not able to make a move. He might be using a little bit of patience, but we'll see. He's not really in a position to make a move into the bus stop, so it looks like he will have to wait at least until turn 1. He's going to take a look to the outside, but that door will be shut, and they will go through single file, and that's Chris Potter, the Porsche leader, just in front of them.
And Reinhardt, he did take on a little bit less fuel on that last pit stop than we really thought they would need. So he might be trying to save a little bit of fuel here, just staying behind Riley Wyans and just running maybe 3/4 throttle or something, just trying to save a little bit of gas.
Yeah, if he ran it as lean as perhaps we're estimating it to be, that could be a situation. I mean, usually you want to put an extra gallon in just as a buffer, but every last bit of fuel will add some weight and add a little bit of will take a little bit of speed out of the vehicle, especially on the straightaways here at Daytona, which most of the track is a high-speed segment. But he is staying right behind. He won't have that luxury forever. As we said, we still are waiting for the 707 in, but we do have the leader on pit road.
Shedwick coming down pit road. We'll see how much fuel he does decide to take on. He had a 25-second pit stop, or 25-second pit stop last time, and we'll see what he does have here.
He had a 26-second lead over Weaver. Weaver remains on the racetrack, so he will come by and at least take the lead for a little while, but he will have to give it back with a pit stop, and we'll wait for the jack to drop in for Weaver to exit the pits, remain back onto the racetrack. There he goes. So Weaver is in heavy traffic right now, heading into the hairpin. Passes a Porsche, and now that is the number 22 of Matthew Sanderson, the prototype, who is well off of leader's pace at the moment. But you can see just from this perspective, guys, it's only about 8 seconds of a lead that Weaver has, and that's well, obviously without a pit stop, that's just the lead that Shedlick had and making a pit stop. He's only 8 seconds back, so obviously Weaver's not going to have a long final stop, but he's not going to, obviously with that almost 30-second deficit he had, any chance of the victory without a mistake is over.
Yeah, he's going to need Shedwick to have some sort of issue here for him to have any chance at the win, but still over a half hour to go. A lot can happen, and as they're going to be coming up on some more Porsches, that could play into a few things here with Shedwick.
Oh, Weaver overshooting the bus stop.
He's in the grass.
And
still.
that's going to put Sanderson around. Sanderson spins around right into the racing line. He gets it corrected and facing the right direction, but that was a very dangerous situation. Go on replay, try to take a look at exactly what happened. See, just heading in here, that was, just Weaver clipped the grass, got him loose. He just decided to take the safe route and take the penalty and go around, but I think Sanderson, as reactionary to that, is he on board with Sanderson?
Yeah, Sanderson just got loose, and then he got on the brakes a little bit, and that just completely shifted all the weight towards the front of that car and caused it to go around.
Well, we talked about curbing earlier being very slippery, and that's also true in the bus stop. There's wide bits of curbing, but you really need to take advantage of every inch of racetrack you can get. So drivers will attack that curbing down there, but it is a lot less grippy than the pavement, and if you use too much of it and get yourself into the grass, you can find yourself backwards.
Yeah, and especially if the car is already kind of unsettled and unstable and starting to slide a little bit, if you hit that pavement, sorry, not the pavement, if you hit the curbing, and hit that the paint on it, you're going to lose that grip and their car's going to go sliding around.
So guys, we do have I was just going to say they still are battling, but no longer. Riley Wyans will make his final stop to pit road. That will give Drew Reinhardt the repossession of the 3rd spot. So we'll have to wait and try to see where it shakes out in terms of track positioning. But it was a 7-second lead that Weaver had. Remember, he still needs to pit, but Shedlick has already cut 3 seconds into that lead. So he may repass Weaver before Weaver even has to make his final stop.
That could bring Drew Reinhardt into this, at least with Weaver, to maybe be able to get up there and get by him for a second. Once Weaver does make his final pit stop, which will be any time now. Let's see when he does decide to come down, probably within 5 laps, I would say.
So we are at just under a half hour to go, or how the overlay has assessed just about 18 laps of racing remaining approximately for the prototype, as Weaver will hold the provisional lead because it's not going to last. He still needs that final stop. We still are waiting for 4 prototypes to come to pit road: Weaver, Schoolmeister, Crouch, and it is James Harris in the 3. And just for the Porsche, remember guys, we expect the Porsches to be fine for the remainder of the race. So just, again, Potter we've talked about, but still it's Fisher and Edwards. They've been battling quite a bit, only separated by about a second. That's for second in the Porsche class.
Well, and speaking about James Harris in the 3 prototype, he's working his way past some of those Porsches, and the last time he was with this group, there was some contact and a spin, so we got to keep an eye on this battle here.
Yeah, we were just watching the Porsche battle, but interesting as just as things work out that Harris is, as you said, right on the back of these, and these guys are going for position. Both of these Porsches are active for position, and right behind Harris, that is another DP. That is Riley Wyans, and we know how fast he is, so he's going to try to get by Harris, as both of these guys are trying to get by battles for position in the Porsche class.
Yeah, these Porsches are racing for second and third with Fisher and Edwards taking a look to the outside.
Headlights
with
for
a
Wyans.
DP.
3 wide here.
3 wide coming through the tri-oval here at Daytona.
Wyans will clear with the pure speed from the prototype alone, but here comes Harris trying to get through on a little bit more safer terms, as he doesn't necessarily have the speed that Wyans has. Locks him up, so he won't be able to make the pass this time by, at the least, on Fisher, but this has separated Fisher and Edwards.
Yeah, and Edwards notably letting Harris on by. I think saw that there's a potential for chaos, so I think he just decided to let him on by before anything happens.
And it doesn't look like Harris is in any kind of immediate rush. He's not going for position right now, but he's not showing much urgency to get by Fisher, which both is a blessing and a curse, because you think Fisher just wants to get back onto his own pace. He can't run his own pace with a prototype right on his bumper.
Well, the other thing is it's not just inconvenient for the Porsches. It's also kind of a distraction to have those headlights in your mirror, because Harris could be unpredictable behind the Porsches right now. You're not sure if he's going to go for a pass or if he's going to stay sitting here. So right now, Will Fisher's got to keep an eye on that mirror, and that could be a big distraction for him moving forward.
Yeah, as you can see, it looks like into the bus stop. Here's Harris going for the pass, and Fisher will facilitate it by backing off, or no, he won't.
Harris is going to back off.
Yeah, this is what we're talking about. It gets awkward when some of the prototypes are running more the pace of the Porsches due to damage or pace. Obviously, very awkward here, and it makes for a very confusing situation on the racetrack.
Yeah, now Harris to the outside in oval 3 and 4, and a little bit of squirreliness on the inside there from Fisher. Not quite sure what instigated that, but still, Harris is just... It's as if there's almost a parachute, as if there's a governor in that prototype. He just doesn't have the top end, whether damage or intentional.
I wonder if he's running that high downforce setup like Kyle was talking about. He said it would get him down to right around 160, 170 miles an hour, which would bring him right there with the Porsches. So maybe just a bit of a setup issue on that 3 of Harris, really slowed him down.
Now, last time by, in terms of lap time, a 1:48.4 for Harris, and for Fisher a 1:48.5. They were only separated by 1/10 of a second. I'm actually curious to try to make that fact definitive and to see if what Harris is running by himself. We really haven't watched it to analyze it, but be an interesting point.
Yeah, so what I'm looking right now at the onboard of that car, and at the top end, he was only about 172 when the gears were topping out. And typically, when you're revving out that high, it's because you need the torque because you have a lot of downforce. So maybe a little bit too much on board that number 3.
Yeah, because his car doesn't look too damaged. Maybe a little bit on the left front fender, but most likely just a setup issue on that 3 with the running the higher downforce and not quite allowing him to have enough speed.
Yeah, and we're seeing how much of a difference between the low downforce and high downforce setup, and then now that Harris is 2 laps down compared to the leaders.
So now that battle that was kind of interrupted, if you will, by that Harris situation of Fisher and Edwards for second in the Porsche class, it was within a second of a gap. That is now 2.1 seconds as here comes the 10 machine of Shedlick. Still waiting on Weaver's final stop, but an interesting note, Shedlick had that lead down to 4.2, 4.5 seconds, and it has stabilized, which is interesting in terms of pace, but we know it doesn't really mean much as Weaver still has a pit stop, I mean, I'd have to imagine within a lap or two, because he's at 29 laps now since his last stop.
Yeah, and he only went about 27 laps, I believe, on that first cycle, so he will be coming down any time now, getting by the 3 of Harris. Coming through turn 3 now. And gap still right around that 4-second mark from Weaver to Shedlick, and Weaver still yet to pit.
So, I mean, I'd have to imagine he's going to drop back to about 20 or so seconds, maybe 25 seconds, all said and done behind. But even that by itself, that'll still put him in second place with no issues. Reinhardt, he is 58 seconds back, so even after a stop, Weaver should fall into at least 20 seconds over third. So it's going to be pretty much second unless some kind of issue comes about to take it away. So again, we have at this point 20 drivers still on track. It is 10 prototypes, perfect even split, 10 and 10 on the racetrack now. We've only lost 3 due to attrition in this race. The 2 hours is down to just over 20 minutes and about 15 minutes worth of action, and Jim Shedlick has dominated the prototypes, and just due to strategy, he is out of the lead, but we have to wait for the 66 to come to pit road. And for the Porsche class, we have Chris Potter. He's led for the better part of the last hour and a half, as here comes Justin Weaver for his final stop.
Now we'll see how much fuel he does take on, as Shedlick already passing him for the lead. So just gonna be a matter of, is Weaver gonna hang on a second, or is Reinhardt gonna be able to come and get by him? As here comes Weaver stopping in his stall now. Overshooting it, maybe a little bit.
Yep, so is the jack going up? No, jack is not going up. It's just a fuel stop only, as we expected. And 10, 11, 12, how many seconds of fuel? Is he going to take 13 seconds of fuel? So about 4 seconds less than Shedlick, but it's not going to be a matter of coming out for the lead. It's going to be a matter of where is he going to shake out in the grand scheme of how much time is he going to have on Reinhardt, which, as we said, still should be the better part of about 30 seconds. But we may have an active battle on the track in the prototype class. I'm looking at Rob Crouch again, and Daniel Schoolmeister, he hasn't been able to get rid of him for the last half hour or so, and that battle is starting to shake up yet again.
And just to see that Schoolmeister comes down to pit road to make his stop.
Oh, so yeah, I didn't check that part of the telemetry, so short-lived drama there. And just as reference, so actually Crouch
is going to need to come down as well.
So he's on lap 27 of his stint right now, so that battle...
Oh, getting loose there, almost into the wall.
I saw some sparks. I saw some sparks. It may have been from the curbs there, but... So that battle is still active. Is Crouch going to pit? Again, we've seen it a couple times. Is he going to pit immediately? Is he going to play it out and maybe run it dry a lap or two further if he feels that is just? But that battle is definitely on the table for him as this race progresses.
It looks like Reinhardt is about 27, almost 28 seconds behind Weaver, so probably not going to be too much of an issue there for Weaver. He should be able to finish in second as long as he doesn't have any more issues. And same as Shedlick being able to most likely win this race as long as he does not get caught up in any incidents.
And that's easier said than done, but at this point, when you haven't made many mistakes all day and the competition necessarily isn't right on your bumper, you're just running your own pace, so it's kind of easy just to get in that necessary rhythm that you need to get into. As we've kind of been watching the DP class, we'll watch and see where the 112 and the 08 do merge out together. Both back on track.
And one thing we haven't noticed is that the lights have come on here, and as they fade in, the track is getting better and better lit. And I think now the whole viewing situation we were having earlier where drivers were having trouble seeing is probably gone now, as the track is pretty well lit, both by the headlights and the stadium lights above Daytona International Speedway.
It's almost been told in the past that some of these drivers, maybe on the oval side, they almost prefer running at night because you have the better visibility and you don't have to worry about the sun and all the issues that come along with the glare. So Daytona, as you said, the biggest thing at running at night is going to be the beauty of the headlights and the ability to let the drivers know what your intentions are. We've seen that a couple times already. And, well, now we're talking about night. Let's just bring up the track temp. We've referenced it all night. Now we're down to, looks like we're stabilizing right around 73 degrees. So,
notably, that's only 1 degree above the ambient temperature, so it's unlikely to fall farther than that. But, yeah, the track has cooled off quite a bit, and that grip level obviously coming up and helping the drivers out as we get on with this race.
It looks like Weaver actually has been a little bit quicker than Shedlick, gap down to just over 25 seconds. He was almost a full 2 seconds quicker last lap than Shedlick.
Yeah, 142.6.
Might be a little bit too late, but still, he is faster right now.
Yeah, and there may have, I mean, I'd have to imagine for that lap time ran by Shedlick, there must have been some kind of issue in terms of the, whether it be getting by traffic or just maybe getting a little bit loose and having to check up. But yeah, that was the slowest lap we've seen by Shedlick in some time. I don't think the mathematics would line up for it to close in, but it could definitely be a something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it looked like he was trying to get by Christopher Potter in the number 9 Porsche in the turn 1 and turn 2 area, so that might have slowed him up a little bit, but shouldn't have pulled him up too much. So 2 seconds, still a pretty big gap there in the lap times between first and second. Yeah,
Shedlick's last 4 laps have been outside of that 40-second range. Couple in the 41s and then 2 in the 42-second range, so maybe starting to slow down a little bit on that 10 of Shedlick.
Yep, so again, to reference the Porsche class right now, Chris Potter, he's been out there for 19 laps. He should be good to go to the end. We saw many of these drivers pit after halfway, so 2 drivers I would be concerned of is actually Fisher and Edwards. They are 2nd and 3rd in the class. They have about 5 more laps, and I do remember that Fisher pitted about 2 laps before halfway, so he may be running a little bit closer than many of the other drivers, but still something to take note of. I don't think anything to worry about for Potter and such, but something to keep note of for that battle for 2nd.
Another thing I've been noticing is that on the Rileys, at least, I've noticed that on Jim Shedlick, the brake rotors are glowing, and obviously the brakes on these cars, pretty good, but putting a lot of heat into them, and that's normal, but obviously we've been running for 2 hours now, so the brake temps obviously will affect your tire temps as well, and the higher those go, the slicker the track's going to feel.
Yes, it is, and not quite sure if we've ran enough to accumulate some marbles, but the racing groove definitely is heating up, which it will, at this point, create more grip. When it gets to a certain point, it does actually begin to lose grip, but I don't think we've gotten to that point with the rubber buildup here at Daytona, but the track temp definitely facilitating the grip. But again, we haven't talked much about the 10 today in relative terms, only because he has been up front for so long. But if you're Shedlick, you've literally led, we've run, what is it, about an hour, 45 minutes. I think he's only been out of the lead for maybe that 10 minutes that Weaver was in transition on pit stops. An amazing run thus far for the 10.
Yeah, and he has picked up those lap times a little bit. He's back in the 40-second range on that last pit stop, so I'd say nothing to worry about for that 10 team.
Weaver only 2/10. Actually, we'll see what it is, a 40.701. But Weaver just now entering rather, 3 on the oval, so he still has at least another 15 seconds before he even hits the stripe. But they were running pretty close times in proximity. So if anything, that may be a little bit frustrating for Weaver. Now you're finally running that pace that the leader is running, but just you're too far back to do anything with it and no way to gain into it.
That time about just over 4/10 slower for Weaver, who's going really wide through turn 1. Almost got into the grass there, so. And I noticed on that last pit stop that Weaver did not take tires and Shedlick did, so I think Shedlick he's definitely on 10-15 lap fresher tires, and that is definitely going to help him out.
Yeah, another thing I was keeping an eye on was the brake temps on Justin Weaver's car. Not as much brake glow from the 66 as there is from the 10. So that tells me that Jim Shedlick is pushing this car right now as the leader, and Weaver might be being a little bit more conservative, but not much time to be conservative. You're 26 seconds back with about 12 minutes to go. You got to get going.
Yeah, honestly, part of me feels like he's kind of just settled in for the long haul here. I think he also knows that it's pretty much nothing's really going to come out of charging like this. If anything, he might make another mistake and fall into the clutches of Reinhardt behind him. So I think he's kind of settled in for second place.
Yeah, at this point, 26 seconds ahead, 31 seconds behind. There's really not, at this moment, any active battles or anything pursuing in the DP class. And for that matter, for the first time tonight, it's really fizzled out in the Porsche class. We have, I think it's 56 seconds approximately. Potter is ahead right now. Potter right now entering, where is he on the track right now? Entering Oval 4. And Fisher entering the bus stop, but I'm not even sure if that's on the same lap. Actually, it is. So excuse me, it's about a 15-second gap for Potter. I overestimated that massively. But still, 15 seconds. If you're Potter, you haven't had competition for the lead since, what was it, maybe about a third distance into this race. So he hasn't made any mistakes. Fisher's doing a really good job. He's actually running rather comparable laps. He's pulled away from Taj Edwards by about 3 seconds. Ty Kim running about another 3 seconds behind that. And then we go all the way back to Andrew Fawcett, about 30 seconds beyond Ty Kim, and to the latter end of the Porsche grid.
Will be interesting to see if Fisher and those guys can make it on fuel, since they did pit a few laps before halfway. I think they still should be good, but that is going to be something to watch, like we talked about before.
Well, there's only about 10 minutes left in this race, and or a little bit longer than that, but what that tells me, guys, is that it's now time to make sure that you don't make any mistakes, because drivers have spent the whole 2 hours building their gaps to the drivers behind, but one slip up could take you out. And this is still not an easy racetrack. We've talked about the challenges of turn 1 and the bus stop. One little mistake could take Jim Shedlick or Christopher Potter out of this thing, so it's not over till it's over.
So we got a battle for position going on with Rob Crouch and Daniel Schoolmeister going at it for the 5th position. They were side by side out of oval turn 4 there, but now Rob Crouch able to clear him as they get ready to enter turn 1. And we saw them battling before their pit stops. Now Crouch leaving pit road a lap or two ago, and these drivers going at it.
Yeah, we were waiting. We saw the pit stop, and we saw the active battle, and then we saw, what was it? I think it was Shoemeister pit first, and we had to wait for Crouch to pit, and we waited for them to get merged back together, and here they are as it winds down with approximately 8 laps to go, 9 laps to go, give or take, in the race for the prototype. So this is the best battle on the track. They've been racing all day together, and they are passing the 91 Porsche right now. That is Rich Thorpe. They pass him without any issue, and who is right in front of them? That's Riley Wyans. Who is that is a battle for position.
Three-way battle for 4th getting ready to go on here with just over 11 minutes to go, and Wyans going high. Does he have some sort of issue?
Yeah, I'm trying to look.
Seems way off pace.
Yeah, I'm looking through the replay right now. I'll tell you guys if I find anything, but yeah, he's significantly off pace.
Yeah, Wyans, in terms of fuel, I mean, he only pitted 10 laps ago. That should not be of any concern. Maybe he doesn't want to lead. We may have concerns of taking less fuel than necessary. Maybe he wants to take the beauty of the slipstream and stay in 3rd. We'll see if he's able to hang on to the tail end, or if indeed he is going to drop off of the slipstream of these two drivers.
I actually wonder if maybe he took too little fuel, and that's probably why he's trying to run slow laps.
Yeah, that can happen, and I think that's the danger of pulling a strategy like that. You want to take as little fuel as possible to reduce the weight and reduce the time you're on pit lane, but if you misjudge it just by a little bit, it can be a big deal, and obviously that might be what's happening to the 707 right now.
Yeah, that must have been it. 'Cause there was nothing really that stuck out to me on that lap that really would have caused him to slow down, except him just overall going at a slower pace. He didn't have any real issues. But now it seems like it's picked right back up. His contact in front of him.
And these V8 engines can be quite hungry for fuel, and they're spinning well up in the 6,000-7,000 RPM range at the top end of their RPMs. You saw a little bit of contact there in the turn 3 section, but looks like they got it sorted out.
Yeah, so it's just going to be a matter of time as we have to wait and see. Wyans has gotten by Crouch, and we'll see if he does race by Schoolmeister right away, or if he is going to stay back and try to wind down the engine and just save maybe that little bit of fuel he needs, as somebody went really wide there. That's Joshua Gear in the 14 into the tire barrier. He will pull it behind the wall.
It looks like he just overdrove that corner and just went way too wide and into the tire barrier there and towed it back to pit road and has taken it behind the wall.
But the slipstream is coming into full effect here into the bus stop. The 707 looking to the outside of the 08 of Schoolmeister. They're going to go side by side into the bus stop. They're still side by side through it. Here comes Crouch. They went side by side through the whole bus stop, and the 08 will prevail back onto the oval.
Now Will Wyans, he's running the higher line through oval 3 and 4. Kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, I think it was a slowdown there. He was pretty much to the inside of that right-hand curb, so that might have been a slight slowdown for the 707.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot say how many times I've seen that for position, but the fact that they did not have any kind of incident is absolutely amazing. So I think he'll take the slowdown and still have his vehicle. But look at that. Who is that went really wide there? That's Crouch. He overcooked the entry of 1. He does have a vehicle in one piece, but he lost that time to Shoemeister of about 3/4 of a second. So he'll have to try to get that back as the laps are ticking down. About 9 minutes in the race, approximately 7 laps of action. And this is an active battle, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And this is actually drawing in, guys, another driver, Matthew Sanderson. This is going to be for position in that 22.
Yeah, Sanderson only about a half second or so off the back bumper of Riley Wyans, so this is going to be a 4-car battle going on for 4th here.
We haven't talked about Sanderson in a long time. Crouch really wide, nearly into the tire barrier.
And that's going to create a bit of a gap for the 08 of Daniel Schulmeister.
I think Sanderson smells blood in the water right now with these drivers battling up ahead, and it's closed in quite a bit. And with only a couple minutes left in this race, he's got 3 drivers within striking distance, and he might have a chance to go get him if they keep fighting.
To the outside is the 112. Wyans will prevail on this position, and Shoemeister has pulled away by about a second. So is he going to be able to clear? He may be out of the slipstream range, but if the 707 is indeed faster, he will have plenty of time to work into that 1 second gap. But here comes the 22 of Sanderson. Look to the outside of the 112. This is a 3-car tandem, if you will. And here comes the 112 to the outside, 22 to the inside, drafting off of Wyans.
Schoolmeister is loving this right now as they're going to be side by side entering turn 1 with Crouch on the outside going to clear. As Wyans diving in really deep into that corner, it's going to make it stick. And Wyans holding on to that 4th position for the moment, or 5th position for the moment, as Sanderson getting by Crouch.
Yeah, Sanderson did get by Crouch, and now he has 2 more positions that are achievable for him. That's Wyans in the purple machine, and that's the 08 of Schoolmeister in the black machine, who's about a second ahead. All that is doable in the 7 minutes that we do have in the race. Of course, up front, Jim Shedlick in the 10 is leading by 26 seconds in the prototype class. Potter leading by about 14 seconds in the Porsche class, but this is what we need to watch. 4 cars going 4th through 7th in your prototype class here, and we head back onto the oval. They have spread out just a little bit, but I do see some Porsches up front that could make things interesting.
Coming up on 2 Porsches here in oval 1 and 2, gonna be able to get by one of them pretty easily. That second one, they might catch right on bus stop entry here. It's gonna be close to see if Schoolmeister can catch up to him before the bus stop. It looks like he is not going to be close enough to make a move quite yet, but that's probably what he wants.
And this is going to kill Wyans. He's right behind that Porsche right there in the middle of the bus stop. That's going to bring Sanderson. He has the momentum. He's going to go high. They're going to be 3 wide with the Porsche in oval 3. Sanderson, is he going to be able to hold up there on the outside lane? I'm not sure. He's going to try to side draft off the quarter panel as if we are racing Monster Energy Cup machines here, but he's going to use that draft off of the Porsche. And are they going to split them 3 wide into 1?
They're going to have to if they want any chance to stay close enough. Entering turn 1, yeah, they're going to split them in entering turn 1.
Crouch is going to sail it in.
Front.
Crouch sails it in to try to get there. Crouch locks up the brakes, but he has to. He needs to try to stay on the tail end of this battle, and he does so. But now Wyans has closed down to 0.6 of a second to Shoemeister, getting all 4 of these drivers back under a blanket again.
He's going to make for some good racing here with just over 5 minutes to go. Probably about 3 or 4 more laps here at Daytona. And Schoolmeister's starting to close, or pull away just a little bit there through the infield, but out on the oval where these 3 guys working together, that's really going to allow them to catch up.
Did you ever think you'd say that, Evan? Working together in the draft on a Daytona road race? At the
I
end
never really thought
At the end
so.
of 2 hours.
I've heard the term before.
I think that's the proper term for this, co-opetition.
Co-opetition, and our pal DW, I believe, came up with that one. So we'll go with it, but you can see Shoemeister has pulled away by about half a second as we head into, where are we on the speedway right now? I can't tell with the camera. We're on the back straightaway into the bus stop. 4/10, 3/10. Wyans really hard on the binders into the bus stop and clipping the grass on both ends is the 0-way to Shoemeister. Got to watch out for that race control cut penalty. But now Sanderson to the back bumper. Sanderson, is he going to draft? Is he going to go for the pass? He's going to stay behind. He's going to pull up, just try to make his presence known. And both of these drivers closing in on Shoemeister, and watch out, Crouch is back by 7/10, but close enough to pounce if something happens.
We hadn't talked about Sanderson very much this race, but here he is going for the 4th position to the outside of Wyans, entering turn 1 for 5th, and he's going to be able to stay on his outside, not quite, out of turn 1, coming through turn 2 now, and these 4 are still really close.
Now, guys, terminology, I mean, more so say on an oval, are you almost at this point setting yourself up and planning your last lap move?
I think that's exactly what's happening right now. This is a chess match at 160 plus miles an hour, and that's what these guys are thinking about. While we were watching that DP battle, the change for position for second happened between Taj Edwards and Will Fisher. Fisher dropped back to P3, and Edwards took over P2.
Those guys have been battling all race, but the change has happened. We'll try to keep loose eye on what goes on with that, but again, we have to watch eye on this, and of course up front now about a 27-second lead for Shedlick as we head down within 3 minutes of action, which is about, we'll wait for the ticker to update, but there's less than 3 minutes of action here at Daytona in the Classic 2 hours that we have been presenting here tonight. Prototypes versus Porsche. Great action winding up for 3rd through 7th in the Porsche class. We're still waiting. Is Wyans going to get there? Is Sanderson going to get there? Is Crouch from the 7th spot going to have a chance to get up there to 4th? That's what we're watching right now. And look at all 3 of these drivers, bumper to bumper to bumper, entering 3 on the oval.
Sanderson and Wyans both quicker than Schoolmeister through the bus stop, and here comes Wyans taking a look to the outside. Where is Sanderson going to go? And I don't think he's quite sure. Now looking to the outside of Schoolmeister as well. Coming through the tribal, and Wyans is going to clear him.
Yeah, and this should be 2 laps to go for these guys.
Yep, 2 laps to go is what we have as we're 2 minutes and 18 seconds left. Of course, up front, not much going on right now. That's Crouch really locking him up, and here comes Sanderson to the inside. They're going to be side by side through the S's. Wyans is going to have the preferred groove, but he loses the spot. Here comes
Sanderson clearing.
Sanderson's going to clear, but he's on the outside. Wyans has the preferred groove to the inside, but it's going to set him up for the outside in the kink. And is he going to be able to clear? Is Sanderson going to back off?
What an absolute dogfight right now from 4th on through 7th in the DP class with just a couple minutes remaining, guys. This is some fantastic stuff.
And Wyans is going to go deep into the braking zone, clear Sanderson in the 22, and now he's going to be in a good position. They have to nail this. You nail this corner, you're going to be in a good spot heading into the bus stop on the binders. Schoolmeister, a nice slow entry, but Wyans got a really good entry, and he was able to get the exit of the corner off as well. He's going to be able to use the slipstream, as is Sanderson. What's going to happen entering the bus stop?
I think Sanderson and Crouch were a bit too wide through that final corner there, but Wyans and Schoolmeister were both perfect through there, and we'll see what they do here down the backstretch. And as they get ready to enter the bus stop, Wyans taking a look to the outside, and he's going to make a move.
Send it!
Here we side by side once again. Over the contact there.
That's going to be a slowdown. That's going to be a slowdown. That's going to probably cost Wyans unless he's able to clear it very methodically. But this may be the white flag lap. I'm not quite sure. We'll wait what race control gives us. We're under 1 minute of action. So we'll
and while there's Wyans to clear his penalty.
While that was all going on, the second place car, Justin Weaver in the DP, looped it around harmlessly. He'll continue, but lost more ground to the leaders. That's three wide for the lead. Incredible racing coming to the white flag next time.
Crouch is going to be the one to back off, but it's going to be Sanderson and Scoobies. Sanderson around on the brakes, locks it up.
He's going
it's Crouch.
He's going to take out Crouch, and that's going to kill that battle. But I mean, they were 3 wide into the corner. What do you expect is going to happen? Amazing racing. Unfortunately, did not work out.
But Wyan sideways trying to catch up.
That was Sanderson, just locked it up, and unfortunately, just got the 112 in the process of the spin. So that was phenomenal racing. A+ job to those drivers. But this is going to be the white flag right now being scored, exiting the infield into the oval, corner number 2. We head onto the backstretch, what will be the final time for Jim Shedlick in the number 10 prototype. He has led essentially this entire race, has dominated it in every fashion possible. He'll come through the bus stop, presumably for the final time, nails everything perfectly as he has done all night. So in our special event here on the iRacing Esports Network, presented by PTR TV, the number 10 Riley Daytona prototype of Jim Shedlick is going to exit the final corner of the oval here at the Daytona Road Course, and he's going to take it down in front of these fans, and Jim Shedlick is going to win tonight's event.
By 33 seconds over Justin Weaver, who still has not quite finished yet. He is coming through the bus stop now.
And of course, we have to watch the Porsche class as we, Chris Potter in the 9, he's headed in the infield. He's still active on the racetrack for his position. He has 13 seconds of buffer.
Guys, P2 Porsche and P3 Porsche have crashed in the infield. Big damage to both of them, and I think Will Fisher's got terminal damage.
Yeah, Fisher has axle damage right there. Try to keep...
Some contact from James Harris, the 3 prototype.
And that
what turned Fisher around.
They've had issues all night tonight with that number 3. He's been run into several times. I think there was some high tempers there after that incident.
Harris just deep into the corner there, and that took out, again, that Porsche that was there to the inside. But Potter is coming off of the corner number 4, and this is for the Porsche. Actually, no, he's not coming off corner number 4. I'm losing my camera right now. He's coming into the bus stop right now. After 2 hours, this racetrack kind of blends together and turns into one. But here he comes off of the bus stop for the final time. And in the Porsche class, it's going to be approximately a 17-second win now over Taj Edwards, who at current pace is going to take the second place in the Porsche class. But more importantly, for your Porsche class winner in the 2 hours of Daytona, it's going to go to Chris Potter.
And well done effort for him. Nice solid laps all night. Kept himself out of trouble, and that's what gets you these endurance race victories.
Guys, in our first ever coverage of a multi-class event here on the Esports Network and on PTR TV, I think we saw an absolutely phenomenal show. Those Rileys at the end, I know it was not for the win, but 3rd through 7th, it didn't end necessarily the way that they wanted to with that little incident, but still, those guys put on a phenomenal show in the 2 hours here as the sun went down, entering under the lights, and that great battling we saw. So we are going to just bring on screen here and show you the final results, as I think at this point everybody has been able to clear the running order and finish to take the checkered flag and finalize the order. So the final results here from the Daytona International Speedway. For your class win, it is Jim Shedlick, then Justin Weaver, Drew Reinhardt, Daniel Shoemeister, Rob Crouch, Wiley Wyans, Matthew Sanderson, and James Harris. They are the top 8 in your prototype class. And of course, winning the Porsche class is going to be Chris Potter, then Taj Edwards in 2nd, Will Fisher in 3rd, Ty Kim in 4th, and the remaining results of your running order will scroll by onto the screen. That is the running order, and not sure if we are going to have the ability to give you some post-race interviews. We're going to hope that does happen. So we're going to give these guys a moment to hop out of the cars and hopefully meet us in the booth for interviews. So please stay with us here on the iRacing Esports Network.
Before you can get on track, you'll need to calibrate your wheel and pedal set. You'll need to do this in iRacing even if you have already done this using your own controller software. Prior to entering the sim, make sure you've downloaded and installed the latest drivers from the manufacturer's website. Once that's done, follow these easy steps to calibrate your controller. We recommend calibrating in a test session, so pick a car and then click test. Don't go into a practice or official session. The last thing you want to do is have you go on track and crash into another car. Once you're in your test session, click on the options button. You will then see input calibration. This is where your calibration takes place. Start by clicking on the steering button. You will then be prompted to turn your wheel fully one direction and then another. Make sure you place your wheel back into its centering position before hitting done. Now, you'll be asked to turn your wheel 90 degrees to the left. Make sure it's at 90 and hold it there while hitting done. For pedals, click on the pedals button. Here you'll be asked to press the throttle all the way down and then release it. You'll do the same for the brake and clutch pedal if you have one. For the gearbox, you'll first be asked to set buttons for sequential shifting. Once complete, a prompt will ask if you have a H pattern shifter. If not, hit no. If yes, click it and you'll begin to map the gears individually. Once you've completed these steps, you are calibrated and ready to go racing.
Here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMeritt at the line.
All right, we are back here on the Esports Network, PTR TV, and the post-race show for the classic 2 hours of Daytona that we brought you, the prototype versus the Porsche. And we don't have everybody that we'd like to have for interviews, but we do have at least the prototype winner. And you know what, Kyle? I'll let you talk to him here. Grab our winner.
All right, well, there is Jim Shedlick, the prototype winner. Jim, that was just absolute control and domination of that entire race. But walk us through the strategy calls there earlier. Obviously, getting a little bit off sequence from the drivers behind. What was going through your mind there, and how'd you plan that race out?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, so Daytona with these cars in particular always is a bit tricky because it doesn't really matter if you're within a couple tenths or even a half a second. Drivers can stick together in the draft. So, a strategy I like taking is on that first stop, just take a little bit less fuel, and what that'll do is it'll give me a bit of a gap. And if then at that point it's just all out. And if you have a bit quicker pace, then you can put a bit of a larger gap until the second stop. But it's important to do that because obviously you're a little bit lighter car. You're gonna have to pit a little bit earlier and take a little bit more fuel, but it gives you a chance to sort of break that draft. So that was really the big call for me on the first stop.
Yeah, obviously the class interaction tonight was quite interesting with those Porsche 911 GT3s. Obviously the braking distances are different and the acceleration distances are different, but where was the best place to pass the Porsches if you couldn't do it on the oval?
Yeah, the braking caught me off guard a couple times, especially, there's a bit of difference between different drivers as well, and definitely on old and new tires. So I found it took me a while in the race, but you can kind of blast by on the outside of turn one pretty easily because the Porsches, they brake really early, both for the bus stop and for turn one. So I had pretty good success doing that. But other than that, I think that the best spot's probably coming off turn three in the infield. It's all about just kind of getting a good exit, focusing on that, pull alongside, and clear them before the kink, and that's usually the best way to not lose any time.
Obviously, I want to wish you congratulations on that victory. Obviously, very well earned and a dominant victory tonight for Jim Shedlick.
Thank you.
All right, and we don't have, sadly, the winner of the Porsche class, but we can do the next best thing, and we can interview the second place finisher in the Porsche class, and that is Taj Edwards, and Evan Black has him.
Well, Taj, you end up coming home second here in the Porsche class after this 2 hour race, and well, what was the race like for you?
It was a bit of a mixed bag because I feel I could have been one better and finish on the top set, but I'm still happy with second place. The first stint was pretty rough. Got in an incident early on, another car lost it on the braking, came right in front of me, so the whole first stint I was operating with damage, lost a lot of time, but once I got the fast repair and the pit stop, my pace was good.
Yeah, you had a nice recovery there to come back to second, and well, do you think if you had been on an equal playing field with that 9 of Potter, do you think you had the pace to go up there and race with him, or do you just have you beat fair and square?
I think it would have been interesting. The long runs, my pace was pretty good, so I think I would have had something for Potter.
And with this day to night transition, was there any point in the race where visibility was much of an issue, or were you fine for most of it?
For most of it was pretty good, but at the end of the first stint, when the windscreen was a bit dirty and it was going from dusk, that transition period, it was pretty tough sometimes to see, but manageable.
Did you have much of a fuel and tire strategy coming into this race, or was it just something that happened on the fly?
Totally on the fly. I didn't even get much practice for this race particularly, but got a nice set, worked out a strategy in my head, what I wanted to do, and then about halfway through the first stint I decided, nope, not taking tires, and I just managed it all the way.
Could you notice much fall off in the tires after running them for all those laps?
There was a lot of fall off, but if you were gentle on them, especially coming out onto the banking and the horseshoe, you could make them last pretty good. But once you got them too hot, they were pretty much like ice, man.
All right, well, is anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to after your second place finish in the Porsche class?
Well, I want to shout out to my team, Gold Racing team. Shout out to my teammate Jeffrey, who was in the race as well. He had some issues, but still a strong race. And thanks to you guys for the broadcast.
All right, thanks for talking with us, and once again, congrats on your second place finish.
Thanks, man.
All right, so that will be the wrap up the slightly abbreviated post-race show that we do have. So hope that everyone did enjoy coverage here on the iRacing Esports Network of our classic Daytona 2-hour event here on Primetime Racing TV, a new partner on the iRacing Esports Network. And we are happy to join the network and happy to air more content on it in 2019. If you are looking for content, check us out, primetimeracingtv.com, and hopefully we can help you out in those regards. Happy to again cover tonight's action. I want to thank iRacing. Want to thank Evan Black, my PTR TV commentator. And I want a special thank to Kyle and Finian with SimTV for helping us out tonight, and check them out as well for some phenomenal iRacing broadcast content. So again, thanks to everyone who helped out, and thanks to all the fans for tuning in. Primetime Racing TV and the iRacing Esports Network signing out for tonight at Daytona. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.
Have a good night. We'll see you next time.